Arcanum number 0, or 22, Return, the Fool. Meanings. The Fool card is very interesting because it is placed at the end of the major arcana sequence, in spite of its value being 0. This is because the Fool represents two kinds of man. One, the terrestrial, egoic man, and the other, the superior, awakened man. The number 0 is also a symbol for the cosmic cycle, as well as infinity. Thus, the Fool can represent either the beginning or the end of the great work. If interpreted as the 0 that comes before the 1, the Fool is the ignorant sensual person. He or she wanders blindly, seeking delight and lust, perpetually lost in samsara. But if interpreted as the final card in the major arcana, then the Fool represents the resubmergence into the absolute, the zero-value state of non-existence that results from attaining liberation. Therefore, inferior meanings include ordinary sensual life, ignorance, naivety, irresponsibility, and lack of discipline, and upright meanings include attaining enlightenment to some degree or another, returning back to source, awakening to truth, and spontaneous new beginnings. Description of the card. The dog in the illustration is white and barking at the Fool. The energetic companion at the heels of the wanderer in this arcanum is a profound symbol of the sexual fire. The primal, untamed, erotic instinct and vitality within. It represents the very essence of our basic drives and desires. A potent energy that, when acknowledged and integrated, becomes our guide. This spirited presence urges the wanderer to stay on the path, acting as both an instinctive impulse and a loyal ally. Its constant movement and alertness serve as a reminder to remain vigilant of our moment-to-moment reality, especially when the wanderer gazes towards distant horizons. The white dog, fire, is the key to inner transformation. The very force that carries the dangerous potential to provoke degenerative animal passion, when understood and directed consciously, is the extraordinary agent capable of progressing one along the path of freedom and self-mastery. It is the vital fire that, when liberated and guided, illuminates the way to ultimate realization. In the waters of life is the swastika cross, symbolizing the Muladhara chakra of 4 petals. A woman who represents truth is playing a harp, plucking the sexual lyre of 9 strings in order to find the keynote. In the upper part, the 4 gods of death, Mesta, Hapi, Tuamutef, and Kebsenuf, representing the 4 elements, earth, water, fire, and air, the 4 mysterious animals of sexual alchemy. Above the 4 gods of death, we find the sacred serpent, which illuminates the sphere of Ra, which is granted to the Osirian adept, the son of light, esoteric significance of the arcanum. Arcanum number 22 is the crown of life, the return to the light, the incarnation in us of the truth. Beloved disciples, you need to develop each one of the 22 major arcana of the tarot within yourselves. You are imitateurs, that is, those whom others have placed upon the path of the razor's edge. Strive to achieve the state of adeptus, he or she who is a product of his or her own works, who conquers the science for him or herself, the child of their own labor. You must achieve the grade of adeptus, leaving behind the animal state and acquiring consciousness. Gnosis teaches the 3 stages through which everyone working in the fiery forge of Vulcan must pass. These are 1. Purification, 2. Illumination, and 3. Perfection. The curious who enter our Gnostic studies want immediate illumination, development, clairvoyance, the practice of magic, etc. And when they do not attain this, they leave immediately. No one can achieve illumination without first having purified themselves. Only they who have attained purification, sanctity, may enter the chamber of illumination. There are also many students who enter our studies for reasons of pure curiosity and want to be sages immediately. Paul of Tarsus says, "Amongst the perfected, we speak wisdom. Only they who reach the third stage are perfected. Only amongst them may divine wisdom be spoken." In the old Egypt of the pharaohs and occult masonry, these three stages of the path are 1. Apprentices, 2. Craftsmen, and 3. Masters. The candidates remain in the level of apprentice for 7 years or even longer. It is only when the hierophants are completely sure of the purification and sanctity of the candidate that they can then pass to the second stage. Really, only after 7 years of apprenticeship does illumination begin. The crown of life is our resplendent dragon of wisdom, the internal Christ. From Ein Sof, the internal atomic star which has always smiled upon us, emanates the Holy Trinity. 1, the monad, plus 3, the Trinity, equals 4, the tetragrammaton. Arcanum 22, added Kabbalistically, is 2 plus 2 to equal 4, the tetragrammaton. The result is the Holy Four, the mysterious tetragrammaton, the Yod, Hava, He, man, woman, fire, and water. Man, woman, phallus, uterus. You will now understand why Arcanum 22 is the crown of life. The Apocalypse says, "Fear not those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you into prison that ye may be tried, and ye shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life." Apocalypse 2.10. The prison is the prison of suffering, and the 10 days are the tribulations, whilst you are submitted to the wheel of returns and karma. They who receive the crown of life is freed from the wheel of returns, recurrence, and karma. The crown of life is triune, having 3 aspects. 1, the Ancient of Days. 2, the adorable Son. And 3, the very wise Holy Spirit. The crown of life is the man-son, the Sun King so lauded by the Emperor Julian. The crown of life is our incessant internal breath, completely unknown to itself, the particular ray of each man, the Christ. The crown of life is Katair, Hoshma, and Bina, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. He who is faithful unto death receives the crown of life. In the feast of the Lamb, the faces of all those saints who have it incarnate shine like solar suns of love. The immaculate white mantle is stained with the royal blood of the sacrificial lamb. He that hath an ear, let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the churches. He that overcometh shall not be hurt of the second death. Apocalypse 2.11. He who does not overcome will be divorced from the beloved and will sink to the abyss. They who enter the abyss will pass through the second death. The demons of the abyss disintegrate slowly during many eternities. These are lost souls. He that overcometh will not be hurt by the second death. When we receive the crown of life, the word is mad flesh in each one of us. Every saint who attains the Venustic initiation receives the crown of life. Our most beloved Savior, Jesus Christ, attained the Venustic initiation in the Jordan. And the Word was made flesh, and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory, the glory as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. John 1.14. And the light shineth in darkness, and the darkness comprehended it not. John 1.5. He is the Savior because he has brought us the crown of life and given his blood for us. We need to reach the supreme annihilation of the I in order to receive the crown of life. We need to revive the Lamb within ourselves. We need the Easter of resurrection. Arcanum number 1. The first arcanum is the magician of the Kabbalah. It is obviously the beginning. Anything which is initiated in practical life is arcanum number 1. It is unity. It is not difficult to appreciate that every beginning is difficult. One has to work hard, one must sow in order to be able to reap. For this reason, in Arcanum number 1 is the unity of the original beginning. The origin, it is clear, of all unity, because everything begins with the number 1. Unity becomes the origin of duality, or the binary. 1 plus 1 equals 2. And finally, in that unity is the fulfilling synthesis of the ternary. The unity, the one, is the divine monad, the first logos, the Father who is in secret. Each one of us has his own individual monad. Madame Blavatsky used to say that there are as many fathers in heaven as there are men on earth. The Father, in turn, or of himself, unfolds into the Divine Mother. So it is that he and she are Brahma because she becomes the feminine aspect of him. We see then how unity is the root of the binary, given that the latter could not exist without the unity. If the monad had not existed, the Divine Mother would not have existed. The monad is the root of duality. There are as many mothers in heaven as there are men upon the earth. Each one of us has his internal God, or his own particular celestial father and mother. In explaining this, it is better understood why unity is the fulfilling synthesis of the ternary, and how and why it is produced. When Jesus prayed, he prayed to the Father who is in secret, and he left us a prayer which is the Our Father. This prayer is completely magical. It takes a couple of hours to pray the Our Father well, because each petition which is made to the Father is totally magical. The mistake that people make is to pray it in a mechanical manner, and this has no effect. The prayer must be broken down, analyzed. And in order to do this, one must relax the body so that not a muscle is tense, and then to concentrate, combining prayer with meditation. People think that our Father who is in heaven is a gentleman who is sitting up there. If we reflect profoundly, the monad, the unity, the origin of all other unities or monads will be discovered. It is clear that the monad has need of something in life in order to self-realize. What is it that the monad needs? In the light of the Sanskrit, we can ascertain that he needs Vajrasattva, the meaning of which is diamond soul. This is a soul which has no I, which has eliminated all the subjective elements of the perceptions. These elements are the eyes and the three traitors of Hiram Abiff, or that which is the same. Judas, the demon of desire, mistakenly called the astral body, Pilate, the demon of the mind, which is confused with the mental body, and Caiaphas, the demon of ill will. Why should it be that all this is unknown to the pseudo-esoteric schools? The subjective elements of perceptions are the aggregates, the different composites of the human being, the different red demons which make up the eyes. 75, Tarot and Kabbalah, Samael and Weor. The subjective elements of perceptions are defined in psychology as all the psychological processes of the human entity. They are defined as subjective processes of the unconscious, subconscious, preconscious, infraconscious, and all which is metaphysical in nature. What do modern psychologists understand by objective? The physical, the tangible, the material. Clearly, they are totally mistaken. This is demonstrated in analyzing the term subjective, which means sub, or below, that which is below the limits of our perceptions. And what is it which is below? Is it not the worlds of the infernos? Is that which is in the physical and beneath the physical not subjective? This is the truly subjective, that which is beneath the limits of our perceptions. Psychologists do not know how to use that term correctly. Objective is the light. The resplendent is something which has truth, clarity, and lucidity. Subjective is the darkness, the tenebrous. The subjective elements of the perceptions come from sight, hearing, touch, smell, and taste. They are all perceptions of what we find in the third dimension. For example, we see in a cube only length, width, and height, and we do not see the fourth dimension because we are constrained by the ego. The subjective elements of perceptions are made up of the ego with all its eyes. The unity. The Father divides himself into the Mother. In her turn, the mother divides, giving origin to the son, who she carries in her entrails. Osiris, the father. Isis, the mother. Orus, the divine spirit, the intimus of every being. The unity is the realizing synthesis of the ternary. In the Egyptian Book of the Dead, it says that Ra gave to Horns, the child which the Divine Mother carries in her arms, the region of Buto. This region is of pure spirit, of Atman Buddhimanas. Set transformed himself into a wild black boar and struck the eye of Horus, and the latter complained to Ra, "I will cure you." Ra said to him, and to console him, he gave him the region of Buto. This is clarified by the following. The wild black boar must be killed. Thus the eye of Horus is restored. That is to say, the clairvoyance is restored. Horus can put an end to the wild black boar, but not alone. Rather, he must beg the help of the Divine Mother. In eliminating the wild black boar, Orus triumphs, and the essence which was trapped is freed, fusing with Orus, with the diamond soul. It unites with its father and mother. They are three flames that come to form one single, realized flame. The essence is a division of Orus. We must beg Orus to strengthen our three brains. As the ego dies, Orus is strengthened, and due to this, one must beg that he strengthen those three brains. When Orus has swallowed the essence, he needs the solar bodies, and a germinal atom of each one of these bodies remains. Solar physical body, solar astral body, complete consciousness, solar mental body, complete knowledge, body of conscious will. Man is man, and the smaller and more microscopic one feels, the better. We, mankind, must feel that we are ants. God is God because the divinity is that which has power. We are nothing. We are poor devils. And even the man who is a complete man is an ant compared with God. A master said to me, "Venerable Master Samael Aun Weor, true happiness is having God within." Although one may be in the absolute or in nirvana, if one does not have God within, one will not be happy, even though they who dwell there have God incarnated. Those words had a tremendous impact upon me, and I sought the counsel of the great sage Saturn. I gave various esoteric greetings, and he responded to them all, but he said to me, "There is no greater greeting than that of the seal of the heart." There was no need to speak. In silence he answered all, saying that if one does not have God within, not even in the absolute is one happy. With this answer I was satisfied. These consultations cost, and I paid with the capital of good acts, which is the currency of Dharma. Synthesis. This arcanum, the magician, represents man. It is the masculine principle. The number 1 means that which initiates, that which begins. All of the work is contained within the tarot. All psychic processes develop there. The unity is the realizing synthesis of the ternary. Whilst we do not know ourselves, we can know nothing of the soul and spirit. The 4 conditions which are necessary in order to be a magician are the following: to know how to suffer, to know how to be silent, to know how to abstain, to know how to die. Arcanum number 2, the High Priestess. Description of the plate. The 2 columns of the Temple of Isis appear within the waters of life. The white column being Jachin and the black Boaz. Each column has 4 levels representing the 4 bodies of sin: the physical, vital, astral, and mental. Above this, a master appears seated between 2 large columns. The 2 columns are reversed because she is within the temple facing towards us. The act of being seated indicates her passive aspect. In the first arcanum, the magician is standing, indicating an active aspect. She is in profile, showing her left side, her negative aspect. She holds upon her lap a partially open book that is slightly covered by her mantle, indicating that she is wisdom. She teaches the Kabbalah. She holds upon her breast an Ankh cross, the symbol of life, the foundation. Venus, the Tao cross. The cross upon her naked breast signifies that the milk, which is the product of her breast, is the symbol of virtues. The serpent upon her forehead indicates mastery, that she has risen. Upon her left are the horns of the sacred bull. The sacred bull Apis, the spouse of the divine crow. Internally, the horns symbolize the father, and externally they symbolize the psychological ego, our defects. The attributes of the Kaf or Kabir are also found in the horns. The circle is the serpent that bites its tail, representing the cosmic mother, the sacred cow. The veil that falls before her face is the veil of Isis. The esoteric significance of the Arcanum. The second Arcanum is the priestess. The occult science. In the area of the spirit, the number 1 is the Father who is in secret. The number 2 is the Divine Mother who is the unfoldment of the Father. The sacred book of the Mayans, the Popol Vuh, states that God created man from clay and then from wood, the Atlantean race. But that race forgot their fathers and their mothers. They forgot the heart of heaven. Then came a great deluge, and everyone perished. They entered into caves for shelter, and the caves collapsed. This is the reference to the submergence of Atlantis. Thus, every human being has their own divine mother and father who are very sacred. The 2 columns, Jachin and Boaz, that sustain the temple are seen in our father and in our mother Kundalini. The Hebrew letter Bet expresses the dualism of the 2 columns of the temple. The white right column, Jachin, represents the man, the masculine principle, and the black left column, Boaz, represents the woman, the feminine principle. The great arcanum is between the 2 columns, Jachin and Boaz. Actually, this is not understood by many monastic brothers. The rustic cubic stone is placed between the 2 columns and is later converted into the chiseled cubic stone of the Yesod. This is nothing other than sex, the Sphera Yesod. It is necessary to know the Arcanum, the Maituna, represented by the chisel of intelligence and the hammer of willpower. The ineffable words of the goddess Nait have been sculpted on the resplendent walls of the temple of wisdom with letters of gold, saying, "I am she that has been, is, and will be, and no mortal has lifted my veil." The veil symbolizes that the secrets of Mother Nature are hidden to the profane, and only the initiate achieves the unveiling after incessant purification and meditation. You must be courageous in order to lift the veil of Isis. Our Gnostic motto is Telema, which means willpower. The number 1, the Father, who is in secret, is the eternal masculine principle. He is within himself, Brahma, who has no form, is impersonal and ineffable, and who can be symbolized by the sun. The number 2 is the Divine Mother. She is the eternal feminine principle that can be symbolized by the moon. Brahma has no form. He is what he is. But in himself, he is the governor of the universe. He is Ishvara, the eternal masculine principle, the universal principle of life. Ishvara is Sanskrit, I believe, or it's part of Hinduism. The universal principle of life unfolds in the eternal feminine universal principle, which is the great pralaya of the universe, of the cosmos, her fertile bosom where everything is born and where everything returns. In the human being, the cosmic mother assumes the form of the serpent. There are 2 serpents, the tempting serpent of Eden, which is the goddess of Kali, the abominable Kunda buffer organ, and there is the bronze serpent that healed the Israelites in the wilderness, the Kundalini serpent. These are the 2 feminine principles of the universe, the Virgin and the Harlot, the Divine Mother or White Moon, and Astarot or Kali or Black Moon, which refers to its tenebrous aspect. The second arcanum is the Priestess. In occultism, it is said that it is the dual manifestation of the unity. When the unity unfolds, it gives origin to the receptive and productive femininity in all of nature. It is obvious that the number 2 is within the human organism, and that the number 1 is related to it. Willpower is related to the number 1, and the imagination is number 2. It is necessary to distinguish between intentional imagination and mechanical imagination. It is obvious that mechanical imagination is the same as fantasy. The key to power is to find the harmonious, vibrating union of imagination and willpower. There is a key in order to depart in the astral body, which should be performed quickly in those moments of awakening from sleep. Upon awakening, you must close your eyes, and without movement, you must strongly imagine any given place. Do not imagine that you are imagining. It must be done factually. You must feel secure about being in the imagined place, uniting the will with the imagination. It is logical that one will triumph if this union is achieved. Place the imagination into motion and walk in the place which is being visualized with faith. If this practice is performed without moving in bed, while working with imagination, which is feminine, and willpower, which is masculine, one can go to any place that one pleases. This is achieved through retaining the sleepy state, by imagining the place, and by walking with firmness through the use of willpower. Once I was in a jungle walking along a roadway when someone spoke to me about a mountain. Due to the fact that this mountain's surroundings were so dangerous, I went to investigate it in the astral plane. I imagined the mountain. I saw fog, many steps, and a group of adepts. When entering the abode, they gave me a spoonful of honey, which is the food of the White Lodge, and the bread of wisdom. Then they told me that I must purge myself with resinous oil in order to clean my stomach. The next day I left my physical body that was already cleansed in the stomach, and I entered the astral plane. I then looked to the stars and performed the rune Mon. These adepts commanded me to descend into the infernal worlds. I entered a region of profound darkness where terrible beasts attacked me. These were my egos. I had to pass through many doorways in which I could barely fit through, narrow ways that led to a cemetery. Everything related to the ego is death and disgrace. The ego is Mephistopheles, Mephistopheles or Mephistopheles. It is necessary to work very hard. Arcanum 3, the Empress. Description of the plate. In the central part of the plate appears a woman crowned with 12 stars. 1 plus 2 equals 3, which represents the 12 zodiac signs, the 12 doors of the holy city, the 12 keys of Basil Valentine, the 12 worlds of the solar system of Ors. On her head is a cup with a risen serpent, symbolizing mastery, that she is risen. She holds the staff of power in her right hand, and with her left hand she tries to reach a dove, which represents the Holy Spirit. Her clothing is solar, which indicates that she is a Christified soul, a product of the 2 previous arcana. She is seated on the perfectly chiseled cubic stone. In the waters of life, the moon is under her feet, indicating that we must trample on the moon in order to convert it into a sun. Esoteric significance of the Arcanum. The number 3 is the Empress, the divine light. The light in itself is the Divine Mother. It corresponds to that part of the Genesis that says, "And God said, 'Let there be light,' and there was light." The first day of creation. It is also the number of the 3rd Logos that dominates all forms of creation. It is the rhythm of the Creator. The Celestial Mother in the material realm signifies material production. In the spiritual realm, she signifies spiritual production. If this arcanum is analyzed more profoundly, a very interesting aspect is discovered. The number 1 is the Father, who is in secret, or the monad. From him, the Divine Mother Kundalini is born, thus forming the duad. Then this unfolds into the number 3, which is the Father, Mother, and Son. The Son is the divine and immortal spirit of every living being. The 3, Osiris, the Father, Isis, the Mother, and Horus, the Son, constitute what the sacred book of the Mayans, the Popol Vuh, called the Heart of Heaven. The Sun also unfolds itself into the animated soul that everyone carries inside of themselves. So in this context, Sun is spelled with an S-O-N. The Zohar, the most ancient Hebraic book, which is the foundation of the Kabbalah and the Old Testament, insists upon the 3 principal elements that compound the word. These elements are the letter Shin in Kabbalah, which signifies fire, the letter Mem in Kabbalah, signifying water, and Aleph, the letter Aleph, signifying air. In these 3 principal elements dwells the perfect synthesis of everything that is from the 4 manifested elements. The serpent or savior, who is the Logos, gives inspiration to human beings in order for them to recognize their own identity with the Logos. Thus, they can return into their own essence, which is the Logos. The powerful mantra, Iao, summarizes the magical power of the triangle of the principal elements. I, pronounced E, symbolizes igneous, or fire. The A, spelt with an A, represents water. In Latin, this is aqua. And O, spelled with the letter O, is origo, The principal spirit, air. This mantra should not be missing from the schools of the mysteries. Here we are seeing the esotericism of the Holy Three. Iao is the fundamental mantra of the Maituna. This mantra must be intonated in the ninth sphere. Those who want to raise the soul of the world through their medullary canal must work with the sulfur, the fire, mercury, the water, and salt, the philosophical earth. These are the three elements, the three principles, needed in order to work in the flaming forge of Vulcan. The secret of the great work is found in the Azot, the manuscript by Basil Valentine. The 12 secret keys of this manuscript are the sexual energy of the Logos, only when the rose of the Spirit blossoms on the cross of our body. The three principal elements are the three Hebrew letters that correspond with the three principal elements within the great work of nature. Thus, we elaborate the living gold. One who does not make spiritual gold is not an esotericist. One descends into the ninth sphere and creates the gold in the flaming forge of Vulcan. The alchemist, Kabbalist, must learn to utilize the sulfur, mercury, and salt. The larvae of the astral body, the incubus and succubus, which are formed by erotic imagination, are destroyed by utilizing sulfur inside our shoes. These larvae are transparent like the air and absorb the vitality of the being. In movie theaters, dens of black magic where degenerate movies are shown, larvae adhere to those who frequent these places. One must carry sulfur in one's shoes in order to destroy them. The malignant forms of thought and the larvae enclosed within any room are disintegrated when one burns sulfur on a flaming charcoal. Mercury is used in order to prepare the radiant water. This is prepared for use by placing a mirror in the bottom of a copper container full of water, which must not be a cauldron, and then adding mercury. This helps to awaken clairvoyance. Nostradamus made his predictions with copper and mercury. Salt has its virtues. When one needs to heal any ill person, one should light a fire in a container where salt and alcohol are mixed. This is done in order to invoke the masters of medicine Adonai, Hippocrates, Galen, and Paracelsus. The ternary, the number 3, is very important. It is the word, plenitude, fecundity, nature, the generation of the three worlds. The third arcanum of the Kabbalah is represented by a woman dressed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and her head crowned with 12 stars. The symbol of the Queen of Heaven is the Empress of the Tarot. She is a mysterious, crowned woman seated with the scepter of command in her hand. The globe of the world is on top of the scepter. She is Urania Venus of the Greeks, the Christified soul, the celestial mother. The divine mother of the third arcanum is the particular mother as well of each one of us. She is the mother of our being, who must trample upon the moon, the lunar ego, in order for the 12 stars, the 12 faculties, to shine over her head. In order to create, we need the 3 primary forces that come from above, from the Father. They exist in all of creation. I'm going to add here, these are cosmic forces. These are universal, right? We have the polarity of batteries and such. So there's the positive, the negative, and the neutral, or the active, receptive, and neutral. Or the uniting. The man is the first arcanum of the tarot, the active force. The woman is the second arcanum, the receptive or passive force, and the crystallified soul is the result of the sexual union of both. The Arcanum AZF is the secret that transforms the moon into a sun and represents the three aspects. These three aspects: active, receptive, and neutral. Arcanum 4, the Emperor. Description: the serpent, which is a symbol of mastery, protrudes from the forehead of the Emperor. This crown, formed by an aspid, is the Thermutus, which belongs to Isis or Isis, our particular Divine Mother Kundalini. Also on his head is a bonnet with 4 points, 4 angles, which represent the 4 elements, the 4 Gospels, the 4 Vedas, etc. On the bonnet, there are also the still, the recipient, the sexual organs, the furnace, the Muladhara chakra, the spinal column, and the distillery, the brain. He holds the staff of power in his right hand. He is seated on the perfectly chiseled cubic stone, product of the previous arcana. Within the stone is the cat, which is the fire. In the waters of life is the rod of command, which is the vertebral column. Esoteric significance of the Arcanum. The cross has 4 points. The cross of the initiation is phallic. The intersection of these two, vertical in the feminine space, forms the cross. It is the cross of initiation that we must carry upon our shoulders. We must comprehend that the cross with its 4 points symbolizes the 4 cardinal points of the earth: north, south, east, and west. The 4 ages: gold, silver, copper, and iron. The 4 seasons. The 4 seasons of the year. The 4 faces of the moon. The 4 ways: science, philosophy, art, and religion. When we speak about the 4 ways, we must comprehend that the 4 ways are really one. This way is the narrow and straight way of the razor's edge, the path of the revolution of the consciousness. The cross is a very ancient symbol that is continually utilized in all the religions of the world. One who considers it an exclusive emblem of one religion sect commits an error. When the conquistadors of Spain arrived in the Holy Land of the Aztecs of Mexico, they found crosses upon all the altars. The sign of the cross, as in the the sublime monogram of our Lord the Christ, the cross of St. Andrew as well, and the miraculous keys of St. Peter, are all marvelous replicas of equal alchemical and Kabbalistic value. It is therefore the sign capable of securing the victory for the laborers of the great work. The sexual cross, the living symbol of the crossing of the lingam yoni, has the unmistakable and marvelous print of the 3 nails that were used to immolate the Christ matter. These nails are the image of the 3 purifications of iron and fire. Our Lord could not achieve the resurrection without them. The cross is the ancient alchemical hieroglyph of the crucible, or crocet, or crucette, which in the past in French was called cruzel, or crocet. In Latin it was called crucibulum, or crucis, or cross, or cross. It is evident that all of this invites us to reflect. It is in the crucible that the raw matter of the great work suffers the passion of the Lord with infinite patience. In the erotic crucible of sexual alchemy, the ego dies and the phoenix bird is reborn within its own ashes. Inri, in nescis renascor integer, which means, in death I am reborn, intact and pure. The intersection of the vertical phallus within the horizontal uterus makes a cross. This is something that can be easily verified. If we reflect very seriously on that intimate relationship that exists between the S and the Tao cross, or T, we arrive at the logical conclusion that only through the crossing of the lingam yoni, the phallus and the uterus, with radical exclusion of the psychological orgasm and lust, one can awaken the kundalini, which is the igneous serpent of our magical powers. In the Nahuatl and Mayan conception of the cross, the Nahuatl or Nahuolin sacred symbol of the cosmic movement is the sacred swastika of the great mysteries, which was always defined as the cross in movement. The two possible orientations of the swastika clearly represent the masculine and feminine positive and negative principles of nature. Two swastikas placed exactly over each other in opposite directions undoubtedly form the Potenzada cross and represent the erotic conjunction of the sexes in this sense. According to the Aztec legend, a couple, a man and a woman, were the ones that invented fire. This is only possible with the cross and movement. Inri, ignis natura renovatur integra, meaning fire renews nature incessantly. The cross also reveals the quadrature of the circle, which is the key of perpetual movement. That perpetual movement is only possible through the sexual force of the third logos. Perpetual movement will finish, and the cosmic unhingement could happen if the energy of the third logos stopped flowing in the universe. The third logos organizes the fundamental vortex of every rising universe and the infinitesimal vortex of the ulterior atom of any creation. With the fourth arcanum of the tarot, the being carries the cross of initiation over his shoulder. If we make the following Kabbalistic addition of the fourth arcanum, 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 equals 10. We find that 10 equals 1 plus 0, which results in 1 again, the monad. The tetragrammaton is equal to the monad. The tetragrammaton, to recapitulate, are the letters Yod, He, Vav, He, which can also be pronounced Yod Hava. The swastika symbol in this example spins to the right and is placed vertically, not on an angle, not diagonally. So the lines are swooping horizontally and vertically. Arcanum 5, the Hierophant, or Hierarch. In this plate, we find the Hierarch with his armor of war. He is holding in his right hand the Staff of Power. He utilizes the mask of a jackal only when he is officiating to do justice. This symbolizes the supreme mercy and the supreme mercilessness of the law. The scale of justice is in the waters of life, indicating that the movements, actions, and reactions of the physical body are based on energy. This includes thoughts too. The number 5 is grandiose, sublime, and is the number of severity and of the law. It is the number of Mars and of war. The 5th arcanum of the Tarot shows us the teachings, karma, and gives explanations. It symbolizes the 5th cycle, the 5th race, the 5th sun, the 5 tattvas, the 5 fingers, the 5 gospels, the 5 senses, the 5 cells of the brain and ovaries, and the 5 aspects of the Divine Mother. The 5th card of the Tarot is initiation, demonstration, teaching, karmic law, philosophy, science, and art. We live in the age of Samael, the 5th of the 7. The return towards the great light has been initiated. Life has started to flow from the outer towards the inner. We are faced with the dilemma of to be or not to be. We need to define ourselves as angels or demons, eagles or reptiles. We have to confront our own destiny. The 5th arcanum is the Hierophant, the law, the severity. It is the flaming pentagram, the flaming star, the sign of divine omnipotence or omnipotence. This is the symbol of the ineffable Word made flesh, the powerful star of magicians. The pentagram represents man, the microcosmic human being, who with open arms and open legs is the star of 5 points. The pentagram with the 2 points aiming upwards represents Satan. It is utilized in black magic in order to invoke the tenebrous ones. The superior point aiming towards heaven represents the internal Christ of every human being who comes into this world. It symbolizes the divine. It is utilized in white magic in order to call divine beings. When we place it at the foot of the door of our room with the 2 feet pointing towards the outside, tenebrous entities do not enter into the room. On the contrary, when the pentagram is inverted with the 2 feet towards the inside, it permits the entrance of the tenebrous ones. The esoteric pentagram. In the superior angle of the pentagram, we find the eyes of the spirit and the sign of Jupiter, sacred father of all the gods. In the arms is found the sign of Mars, symbol of strength. In the feet is found the sign of Saturn, which is the symbol of magic. In the center of the pentagram is the symbol of occult philosophy, the caduceus of Mercury, and the sign of Venus. The caduceus of Mercury represents the dorsal spine. The 2 open wings represent the ascension of the sacred fire along the dorsal spine, which opens the 7 churches, or 7 chakras, of the book of the Apocalypse, Revelation of St. John. This is done through scientific chastity. The chalice, symbol of the feminine yoni, also represents the Christified mind. It contains the wine of light that semenizes the brain. The sword is the masculine phallus. We also find the key and the pentacle of Solomon. Tetragrammaton is a mantra of immense sacerdotal power. According to transfinite mathematics, infinite plus infinite equals the pentalpha. So infinite plus infinite equals 5. Students can elaborate an electrum in order to protect themselves against the tenebrous. egos, thought forms, he means, and other kinds of demons that are outside of our mind. In occultism, we call an electrum or an electrum a pentagram, which has on it the 7 metals of the 7 planets. The first is the moon, silver. 2 is Mercury, mercury. 3 is Venus, corresponding with copper. 4 is the sun, corresponding with gold. 5 is Mars, iron. 6 is Jupiter, tin. And 7 is Saturn, lead. The pentagram is made and consecrated with the 4 elements: fire, air, earth, and water. It should be smoked with the smoke of the 5 perfumes: frankincense, myrrh, aloe, sulfur, and camphor. From these 5 substances that serve to consecrate the pentagram, the first 3 are in order to invoke the white forces. Sulfur is used in order to reject tenebrous entities. Camphor is utilized in order to perfume and attract success. One has to learn how to handle these substances. We have to put the 4 letters of the Yod He Vav He on the pentagram and carry it around our neck. This gives us extraordinary protection. In consecrating the pentagram must be blown on with the breath 5 times. This is in order for the real Christonic being of the internal master to be present in order to consecrate the pentagram. The 5 archangels, Gabriel, Raphael, Samael, Anael, and Orifiel, must also be invoked. If we can elaborate a metallic pentagram and consecrate it, we can also consecrate ourselves with the same rites and perfumes that we use to consecrate our metallic pentagram. This is because the human being is a star of 5 points. Those who feel they are polluted with larvae, astral larvae, or are miserable must incense themselves with the 5 perfumes in order to become clean. This must be performed in conjunction with treading on the path of perfect chastity. In the Lumicioles, this custom of cleaning the brothers and sisters that are full of larvae should be established. Thus, they will receive the benefit in their souls and in their bodies. In the Egyptian Book of the Dead, the following is said: Sait nu triumphant. I am the jackal of jackals. I am Shu, and I draw air from the presence of the god of light, Ku, to the bounds of heaven and to the bounds of the earth, and to the bounds of the outermost limits of the flight of the Nebe bird. May air be given unto these young divine beings. Chapter 55. The hierarch of the 5th arcanum is the jackal of the jackals. He is the lord of the archons of destiny. He is Anubis, the god with the head of a jackal. The temple of Anubis is the temple of the lords of karma. Anubis carries the books of karma in the underworld. Each human being has his own book of affairs. Those who learn how to travel in the Ka, astral body, he's using Egyptian terms right now, can visit this temple of the jackal of jackals in order to consult their book and to make their negotiations. Credits can be requested from the lords of karma. Every credit must be paid for by working in the great work of the Father, or by suffering the unspeakable. When the Logos of the solar system delivered unto me the tunic and the mantle of the Hierophant of major mysteries, he told me, "Here I pay unto you what I owe you for the practices that have been teaching, that you have been teaching. One who wants light must give light in order to receive one's payment. The jackal of jackals conducts the light for all the limits of the firmament. He arrives to the frontiers of the bird Nebe, the enormous serpent who is one of the 42 judges of Ma'at in the judgment. This great judge is the logos of the solar system. The jackal of jackals works under the orders of this great judge. These young divine beings that work with the Anubis are the lords of karma. The alchemist must learn how to drive his ka, his astral body, in order to visit the temple of the jackal of jackals, either in meditation or a deeper meditation of dream yoga, and to arrange his negotiations. In our work with the blessed stone, it is indispensable to learn how to consciously handle our own karmic negotiations. No one escapes from justice because in the depth of our consciousness exists the Kaum, the karmic police, who take form each time that we register an action, be it positive or negative. Arcanum number 6. Indecision. The lovers. Meanings: balance, equilibrium. Soulmates. Indecision. Vice and virtue. Reversed meanings. Disequilibrium. Detrimental choices. Separation. Infidelity. Description of the card. One finds the disciple standing in the waters of life in front of a triangle with the vertex pointing downwards. His left arm is crossed over the right. All of the above signifies that the disciple is fallen, that he feels a greater attraction towards Medusa, the eye, who is located to his left. To his right, one finds a female master. This arcanum is called indecision, because the disciple does not know which path to decide upon. Seated in the upper part is a hierarch of the law with a bow taking the form of a triangle with the vertex pointing upwards. He points his arrow at the head of the Medusa, in keeping with the axiom. The Medusa must be decapitated. Each figure presents to the neophyte a different path. The path of the left and the path of the right. The arrow of justice points against the path of the left. Esoteric meaning of the Arcanum. The Arcanum 6 is the lover of the tarot, signifying realization. The human being is found between vice and virtue. The Virgin, the Whore, Urania Venus, and the Medusa. One finds that one has to choose one path or the other. Arcanum 6 is concatenation, equilibrium, loving union of man and woman. A terrible struggle between love and desire. Here we find the mysteries of the Lingam Yoni. The linking together of the struggle between the two ternaries is in Arcanum number 6. This is the affirmation of the internal Christ and the supreme negation of Satan. Arcanum number 6 is the struggle between the spirit and the bestial. Number 6 represents the struggle between God and the devils. This arcanum is expressed in the Seal of Solomon. The upper triangle represents Katare, Hokmah, and Bina, the resplendent dragon of wisdom, the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. The lower triangle represents the three traitors who form the antithesis of the divine triad. They are the demons of desire, of the mind, and of ill will. From moment to moment, they betray the internal Christ and are the bases of the ego, Judas, Caiaphas, and Pilate. This lower triangle is the black dragon. In the waters of life appear two sphinxes, a white and a black one, that are pulling the chariot. This symbolizes the masculine and feminine forces. A warrior who represents the inner self is standing in his chariot of war, which is the cubic stone, sex. He also stands between the four pillars that constitute science, art, philosophy, and religion, which he channels himself through. The four pillars also represent the four elements, indicating that he dominates them. The flaming sword is in his right hand, and in his left is the staff of power. The armor represents the divine science that makes us powerful. The warrior must learn to use the staff and the sword in order to achieve the great victory. On his head is a bonnet with 3 points that represent the 3 primary forces. Ra, the cosmic Christ, the wings, appears in the superior part of the plate. Esoteric significance of the Arcanum. The 7th Arcanum represents the 7 notes of the lyre or lyre of Orpheus, the 7 musical notes, the 7 colors of the solar prism, the 7 planets, the 7 vices that we must transform into the 7 virtues, the 7 sidereal genii, the 7 bodies, the 7 dimensions, the 7 degrees of the power of fire, the 7 secret words that were pronounced by the solar logos, On, Golgotha, etc. The 7th Arcanum is the chariot of war that the monad has built in order to have the power to act in this world, and the power to work in this field of life. It is the already self-realized monad that is manifesting itself through the 7 bodies. From another aspect, the number 7 represents struggles, battles, and difficulties. However, despite all these difficulties, there is always success in the end. The Father who is in secret signifies the divine monad that is immortal and omniscient. But without realization of the self, the monad cannot dominate the physical. He does not have sovereignty over the elements. It is quite incredible that we who are miserable slugs have to make our Father powerful. It seems a blasphemy, but he has to realize himself. The self-realized monad is powerful. It has the power over fire, air, water, and earth. That is why the Egyptian Book of the Dead, the devotee directs himself towards Horus and says, I fortify your legs and your arms. Likewise, the devotee asks Horus to fortify his 3 brains, the intellectual, the emotional, and the motor instinctual brain. This is because Horus needs the devotee to have his 3 brains strong. The Egyptian theogony, the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, in other words, the Father altogether, is Osiris, or Ra. The Logos in its 3 aspects is Ra. When spoken of, the monad is referred to as Osiris. He is the one that has to realize himself. He has to unfold himself into Father, Mother, and Son. The Son unfolds himself into the essence, and the essence swallows us. Thus, the monad remains self-realized. Essence, Son, Mother, Father. Our own particular monad needs us, and we need it. Once, while speaking with my monad told me, I am self-realizing thee. What I am doing for thee. Otherwise, why are we living? The monad wants to realize the self, and that is why we are here. This is our objective. Arcanum 8, Justice. In the waters of life appear a serpent eating its tail, which forms the sign of the cosmic mother, the infinite, the zero. A woman kneels on a platform of 3 steps, representing the Arcanum AZF, water and fire, together to make consciousness. In her left hand, she holds the sword of power, which is pointing upwards. With her right hand, she balances a scale, which points out that equilibrium should exist between the mind, the heart, and sex. In the superior part of the plate appears Ra. This is another symbol of Ra, other than the wings. Esoteric significance of the Arcanum. The 8th Arcanum is judgment. The number 8 is the number of Job, of ordeals and of pain. In relation to esotericism, the number 8 is represented by the sword. The number 8 is the number of the infinite. The vital forces of the fire of Phlegeton and the water of Acheron circulate in the form of an 8, intercrossing themselves in the 9th sphere, within the heart of the earth. In the dorsal spine, the symbol of the infinite is also formed. The sign of the infinite signifies work in the 9th sphere, and this is sex. The 8th Arcanum of the Tarot is a woman with a sword in her hand before the scale of cosmic justice. Only she can deliver the sword to the magician. Without the woman, no initiate can receive the sword. There is the Eve Venus, the instinctive woman, or the Venus Eve, the woman of home, and the Venus Urina, the woman initiated into the great mysteries. Finally, we confirm the existence of the Urina Venus, the female adept, the deeply realized woman. The woman of the 8th Arcanum of the Tarot has in one hand the scale and in the other the sword. It is necessary to equilibrate the forces. It is necessary and urgent to completely sanctify ourselves and to practice the Arcanum AZF. The forces of man and woman are equilibrated in love and wisdom. The miraculous ascension of the seminal energy towards the brain is possible thanks to a certain pair of nervous cords that are unfolded in the form of an 8 from right to left in the dorsal spine. In Chinese philosophy, this pair of cords is known as the classical yin and yang. In Chinese philosophy, this pair of cords is known by the classical name of yin and yang, the Tao, the middle path, or the medullary canal is the secret path through which the serpent ascends. It is obvious that the first of these two canals is of a lunar nature. It is clear that the second canal is of a solar nature. When the lunar and solar atoms make contact within the triveni, close to the coccyx, the igneous serpent of our magical powers awakens. The serpent that forms a circle with its figure while in the Gnostic trance of devouring its own tail is an extraordinary synthesis of the marvelous message of the Lord Quetzalcoatl. The serpent in a vertical position illustrates the Maya Nahuatl idea, which is the divine viper devouring the soul and spirit of the man. Finally, the sexual flames consume the animal ego, annihilating it and reducing it to ashes. Unquestionably, the serpent is the esoteric symbol of wisdom and occult knowledge. Since ancient times, the serpent has been related to the god of wisdom. The serpent is the sacred symbol of Tot, and all the holy gods like Hermes, Serapis, Jesus, Quetzalcoatl, Buddha, Tlaloc, Dante, Zoroaster, Bochica, etc. Any adept of the universal white fraternity can be correctly represented by the Great Serpent, that within the symbols of the gods occupies a very notorious place, as is shown in the Babylonian buildings where its form is carved in black stone. Dupuis has said that Sculappius, Pluto, Esmond, Nep are all deities with the attributes of the serpent. All of them are healers and givers of spiritual and physical health, and also of illumination. The Brahmans obtained their cosmogony, science and art of culturalization from the famous Naga Mayas, who were later known as Danavas. The Nagas, serpents, and the Brahmans utilized the sacred symbol of the feathered serpent, an indisputably Mexican and Mayan emblem. The Upanishads contain a treatise about the science of the serpents, or in other words, the science of occult knowledge. The Nagas of esoteric Buddhism are authentic, perfect, self-realized human beings. They are the protectors of the Buddha's law because they correctly interpret the metaphysical doctrines. If the serpent was a symbol of evil, the great Kabir Jesus of Nazareth would never have advised his disciples to be wise like the serpent. It is good to remember that the Ophites, the Egyptian Gnostic wise men of the fraternity of the serpent, would never have worshipped a living serpent if this reptile was related with the potencies of evil. The sacred serpent, or savior logos, sleeps nestled in the depth of the ark, mystically waiting in the moment of its awakening. Kundalini, the igneous serpent of our magical powers, is entwined within the magnetic center of the coccyx, base of the dorsal spine. It is as luminous as lightning. Those who study Nahuatl, or Hindustani esoteric physiology, emphasize the transcendental idea of a marvelous magnetic center located at the base of the vertebral column, which is located between the anus and the sexual organs. In the center of the Muladhara chakra, there is a yellow square invisible to the eyes of the flesh, but perceptible to clairvoyance, or the sixth sense. According to the Hindus, this square represents the element earth. It has been said to us that within the mentioned square, a yoni or uterus exists, and that in the center of this yoni, a lingam or erotic phallus exists, in which the serpent, the mysterious psychic energy called Kundalini, is curled. The esoteric structure of that magnetic center, as well as the exceptional position between the sexual organs and the anus, gives a solid and irrefutable foundation to the tantric schools of India and Tibet. It is unquestionable that only through the sahaja maituna, or sexual magic, can the serpent be awakened. The crown formed by an aspid, the thermutus, belongs to Isis, our particular and individual divine mother, Kundalini. Each one of us has their own divine mother within. The serpent, as a feminine entity within each one of us, is the spouse of the Holy Spirit. She is our Virgin Mother, crying at the foot of the sexual cross with her heart pierced by 7 daggers. Undoubtedly, the serpent of the great mysteries is the feminine aspect of the Logos, God Mother, the wife of Shiva. She is Isis, Adonai, Tonantzin, Rhea, Mary, or better if we say Ram-io, Cybele, Opus, Dur, Flora, Paula, Io, Aka, the Great Mother in Sanskrit, the goddess of law, layers, or spirits of here down, the anguished mother of Huitzilopochtli, the Ak, or white goddess in Turkish, the Chaldean Minerva of the initiatic mysteries, the Akabulzub of the lunar temple of Chichen Itza or Yucatan, etc. Arcanum 9, the Hermit. Meanings: perfection. In the esoteric context, enlightenment. The perfection of the soul. Completion. The end of cycles. The end of a cycle. Solitude in the form of reflection or self-investigation or meditation. Healing. Loneliness. Reversed meanings: incomplete work, ignoring pain and other feelings, that need attention, failing initiations and ordeals. Description of the plate. In this arcanum, we find a rising moon in the waters of life. In the middle part of the plate is an old hermit who is advancing forward, pointing out the path by holding his left hand a lamp known, or rather in his left hand, a lamp known as the Lamp of Hermes, wisdom. With his right hand, he holds on to the staff of the patriarchs, which represents the spinal column with its 7 churches. The prudent and wise hermit is wrapped up in the protecting mantle of Apollonius, which symbolizes prudence. The palm of victory is behind him. The palm tree, in other words. In the superior part of the plate is a sun that shines with 3 rays, indicating the 3 primary forces that descend to unite with the moon. The moon ascends and the sun descends, indicating that we need to transform the moon into the sun through transmutation. We need to convert the lunar bodies into solar bodies with the Arcanum AZF. Arcanum 9 clearly indicates the 9 spheres of the atomic infernos of nature and the 9 spheres of 9 heavens. This arcanum also points out the 9 planets represented in the 9 spheres of the planet Earth. The initiate must descend to the 9th, or rather the 9 submerged spheres to later win the 9 heavens corresponding to each planet. Esoteric significance of the Arcanum. Arcanum 9 is the Hermit, solitude. This Arcanum, in its more elevated form, is the 9th sphere, sex. In the ancient temples, the descent into the 9th sphere was the maximum ordeal for the supreme dignity of the Hierophant. Hermes, Buddha, Jesus Christ, Zoroaster, Dante, and many other great initiates had to pass this maximum ordeal, the descent into the 9th sphere, in order to work with the fire and the water which originated the worlds, and beasts, men, and gods. Every authentic white initiation starts here. In the 9th sphere, or 9th stratum of the earth, in the center of the earth, in the very heart of the earth, the sign of the infinite is found resplendent. This sign has the form of an 8. The sign of the infinite is the Holy Eight. In this sign, the heart, brain, and sex of the genii of the earth are represented. The secret name of this genii is Changam. The Zohar emphatically warns us that in the depths of the abyss lives the protoplasmic atom, the differentiating principle of the souls. With that principle, we have to execute a struggle to the death. This struggle is terrible, brain against sex, and sex against brain. And what is even more terrible and more painful, heart against heart. It is obvious that in a human being, all the forces are rotating over the base of the Holy Eight. One who wants to enter into the city of the 9 doors, mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, must resolve to descend to the flaming forge of Vulcan. In the human organism, the 9th sphere is sex. One who wants to realize the self has to descend to the 9th sphere to work with the water and the fire in order to achieve the second birth. The flaming forge of Vulcan is found in the 9th sphere, sex. There, Mars descends in order to retemper his flaming sword and conquer the heart of Venus. This is the Venustic initiation. Heracles descends in order to clean the stables of Agus, our animal depths, or I guess Augias. Perseus descends in order to cut off the head of Medusa, the psychological eye, or terrestrial Adam. With his flaming sword, Medusa's head has many planted serpents, which the esoteric student has to deliver to Minerva, the goddess of wisdom. The fetus remains 9 months within the maternal womb. In order for a planetary humanity to be born, 9 ages are necessary in the wombs of Rhea, Tonantzin, Cybele, or Mother Nature. As well, it is obvious that one has to descend into the 9th sphere in order to be gestated and to achieve the second birth. Jesus said to Nicodemus, "Verily, verily, I say unto thee, except a man be born again, he cannot see the kingdom of God." John chapter 3, lines 1 to 15. This refers to the building of the solar bodies. No one can enter the kingdom if they are dressed with lunar rags. One has to build the solar bodies, and this is only achieved by transmuting the creative energy. In Egyptian theogony, these solar bodies are represented by the Egyptian Sahu. No one has the right to sit at the table of angels if they are not dressed with the solar bodies. We have to build Soma Heliakon, the body of gold of the solar body. It is written, "Narrow is the way that leadeth unto light. Whosoever wants to follow this path, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me." The 3 factors in the revolution of consciousness are to die, to be born, and to sacrifice. The previous lines from the Bible just spoken were Mark chapter 8:34. Those who want the realization of themselves must be ready to renounce everything: wealth, honor, peace, prestige, and must even give their own blood. One must have a center of gravity, a permanent center of consciousness. Human beings are nothing but machines, driven by the many eyes, the pluralized ego. We are placed in a very disadvantageous situation. And this signifies that super efforts are required, as well as killing the I. The ego is Mephistopheles. Mephistopheles. It is the root of all our suffering and pain. It lives in accordance to its own conditioning. We have to reduce it to cosmic dust in order to have our consciousness awake, in order to see the path. By knowing, we understand what it is to see, hear, and touch the great realities. There is a necessity to understand what is signified by the bottom of the abyss. When it is said that we must descend to the bottom of the abyss, that is a reality. When descending to the ninth sphere, we put ourselves in agreement with the planetary organism in which we live. This is by the law of concomitancies, or the law of relations. Those who work in the ninth sphere have descended to the bottom of their real aspect. If they have been working in the ninth sphere, then then when they die, they will see that they really live in that region. The ninth sphere is the center of the earth. Of course, those who will notice this will be the ones that have awakened their consciousness. You won't see this if you're not awake. We must warn the neophyte that supreme pain exists within the ninth sphere, just as Dante explains in his Divine Comedy. Dante states that some of the condemned have tears coagulated in their eyes, and others have the waters rising up to their creative organs. One needs to know how to understand. One needs to know how to learn to suffer, to be submissive. Those who are not are the ones that fail. It is imprudent to want to find happiness in the ninth sphere. This is because the realization of the inner self has a price. It costs the same life. Was it not perhaps Hiram Abif who was assassinated and sought by 27 masters? This makes the Kabbalistic addition of 2 + 7 to equal 9. There are great pains in the ninth sphere up to the moment that one reaches the second birth. When Jesus said to Nicodemus that he had to be born again, Nicodemus did not understand. Jesus knew the great mystery. Could someone ever depart from the ninth sphere? Yes, when one reaches the second birth. After I created To Soma Heliocon in the Forge of the Cyclops, through sexual alchemy, I had to pass a period of profound reflection. In the residence of love, in the temple of the twice-born, I found other brothers and sisters that had also worked intensely in the flaming forge of Vulcan. All of them were shining gloriously within the divine, indescribable enchantments of Holy Friday. We were reunited in order to comment about our struggles and pains. We had been victorious, but all of this is the beginning of beginnings, the foundation of foundations. There is something more about this, and it is necessary for you to be informed about it. If a twice-born or someone who has reached adepthood is intent to reach the angelic state, this person has to descend again to the profound well of the universe, to the ninth sphere. Then, when finished with that work, the twice-born must rise up the ladder, the Luciferic ladder, in order to reach the angelic state. If this being wants to be an archangel, a principality, or principate, a throne, a cherubim, he or she must do the same. Descend in order to ascend. We must understand and distinguish between what it means to fall and what it means to descend. One who is already decapitated cannot recapitulate, or cannot be recapitulated. On the eve of entering the Absolute, one has to descend to the ninth sphere. If the second birth is achieved, the sexual act remains prohibited. The sexual act cannot be used at one's will, but only if the command of the White Brotherhood, the Sacred Order, or the command of the Father who is in secret is received. and that command is to descend to the well of the abyss. One needs to obey. This is not pleasure, but pain and sacrifice. One must descend, and we must suffer upon the Luciferic ladder. We need to transform ourselves into masters, as much as with the superior forces as the inferior forces. The Father who is in secret commands. He knows what must be done. Only by receiving his order can one descend. Those who fall are the only ones that lose their initiatic degrees, never those who descend. By finishing the work, the commands are received and the sexual union is not performed in a capricious way. The Father is the owner of this act, and the order has to come from the Father. The sexual union does not belong to us, but to the Father. The law of the Leviathan is the law of the Mason that has already passed all the works or esoteric degrees. Since he is already decapitated, he cannot be recapitulated. This Mason cannot receive damage, neither from above nor from below. He lives in harmony with the law, the great law. This is the superior knowledge of esoteric masonry. In the beginning, one does one's capricious will, then one does the will of the Father. When one does not have ego anymore, the malignity will disappear, and the individual will only know how to do the will of the Father. He is our true being. He is the elder of the days. He is beyond Atman. When he commands, his orders must be fulfilled. One begins to gain liberation from the ninth sphere when one converts oneself into a Paramatsa Sattva, an inhabitant of the Absolute. Then, one submerges into the abstract joy. But, before going there, a humiliation will occur. One needs to return to descend. Otherwise, one violates the law of Leviathan, the seal of Solomon. In the Apocalypse of the Holy Bible, we also find the mysteries of the ninth sphere. Quote, "And I heard the number of them which were sealed, and there were sealed 140, and 4,000 of all of the tribes of children of Israel." So 144,000. Revelation chapter 7, line 4. Kabbalistically adding the numbers together, we have the number 9. 144,000 is 1. It's 1 plus 4 plus 4 plus 0 plus 0 plus 0. Or you can go 1 plus 4 plus 4. This is the ninth sphere. Only those that have reached absolute chastity will be saved. Quote, "And I looked, and lo, a lamb stood on the Mount Zion, and with him 144,000 having his Father's name written in their foreheads." Revelation chapter 14, line 1. Mount Zion is the superior worlds. These numbers are symbolic numbers. Kabbalistically, we make the addition as follows. 1 plus 4 equals 9. The ninth sphere. Only with the great Arcanum can we be saved and receive the name of the Father on our forehead. The people of Zion are the spiritual people of God. These people of chastity are all those that practice sexual magic. Related to the New Jerusalem, quote, "And he measured the wall thereof, and 144,000 cubits, according to the measure of a man, that is, of the angel." Revelation chapter 21, line 17. The number 9 is the measurement of man, the one who is of the angel. For 9 months we remain within the maternal womb. The Son of Man can only be born in the 9th sphere. There never was known an angel that was not born in the 9th sphere. Those who want to cut off the head of the Medusa, the ego, must descend to the 9th sphere. One who wants to incarnate the Christ must descend to the 9th sphere. One who wants to dissolve the eye must descend to the 9th sphere. The 9th sphere is the sanctum regnum of the divine omnipotence of the 3rd Logos. In the 9th sphere we find the flaming forge of Vulcan. Every fledgling that works in the great work must repose on their staff and must illuminate themselves with their own lamp and cover themselves with their sacred mantle. Every fledgling must be prudent. If you want to incarnate the Christ, you must be like a lemon. Flee from lust and alcohol. Kill the most inner roots of desire. There are abundant esoteric students who mistakenly affirm that there are numerous ways in order to reach God. But the divine great Master Jesus said, "Because strait is the gate and narrow is the way, which leadeth unto life, and few there be that find it." Matthew chapter 7, line 14. If the esoteric student searches patiently through all of the 4 Gospels, he will prove for himself that Jesus never said that there were many ways. The beloved Savior of the world only spoke of the one narrow door and one straight and difficult way, and that way is sex. There is no other way to reach God. Never was there known in all of eternity a prophet that had known any door other than sex. Some mistaken and confused esoteric students wrongly object to these teachings and affirm that Pythagoras, Zoroaster, Jesus, and other initiates were celibate, never having been with a woman, never having been with a woman. In all the temples of the mysteries, sacred vestals existed. The materialists, the disrespectful ones with evil intentions, arbitrarily pretended to call them sacred prostitutes. Albeit these vestals were initiated virgins, esoteric virgins, even when their bodies were not physiologically virginal. The initiates of the temple, Pythagoras, Zoroaster, and Jesus Christ, and all of the initiates from ancient times, without exception, indeed practiced the Arcanum AZF with the vestals of the temple. Only in the flaming forge of Vulcan could these great initiates retemper their weapons and conquer the heart of Venus. Chapter 10. Arcanum number 10. Retribution. Key attributes. Desirable outcome. The end of a cycle. Foreign person, place, or thing. Positive changes. Travel. Upright meanings. Positive results. Travel opportunities. Things turning out the way you wanted. Completion. Description of the card. 2 serpents are found in the waters of life, the positive solar serpent, which cured the Israelites in the desert, and the negative lunar serpent, the tempting serpent of Eden, that of the lunar bodies, the bodies of sin. In the middle section is the wheel of fortune, or the wheel of samsara, the wheel of births and deaths. On the right side arises Hermanubis, evolving. To the left descends Typhoon Baphomet in involution. At the end of 108th lives, the wheel has made a complete turn. Whilst it rises, we observe evolution through the mineral, vegetable, animal, and human kingdoms. On falling, it descends via the same route. The wheel of samsara revolves 3,000 times. After this, the essence, having passed through many purifications and sufferings, returns to the absolute, but without self-realization. In the upper part of the card, the Sphinx in equilibrium above the wheel represents Mother Nature. The Sphinx is the elemental intercessor of the blessed Mother Goddess of the world. In it we will find represented the 5 elements: water, air, earth, fire, and ether. These correspond to the face of man, the wings of the eagle, the feet of the ox, the claws of the lion, and the staff. Esoteric meaning of the Arcanum. In Arcanum number 10, we find the Wheel of Destiny, the cosmogenic wheel of Ezekiel. Within this wheel, we find the battle of the opposites, Hermanubis on the right, Typhon on the left. This is the Wheel of Ages. It is the wheel of fortune, of reincarnation, and of karma, the terrible wheel of retribution. Above the wheel is the mystery of the Sphinx. In the wheel of antithesis, the 2 serpents are in mutual combat. Within this wheel is enclosed the whole secret of the Tree of Knowledge. The 4 rivers of paradise flow from a single source. One of these flows through the dense forest of the sun, watering the philosophical earth of the gold of light. The other, tenebrous and murky, circulates through the kingdom of the abyss. Light and darkness, white magic and black, are in mutual combat. Eros and Anteros, Cain and Abel, live within us in intense struggle until discovering the mystery of the Sphinx. Then we take up the flaming sword. We then liberate ourselves from the Wheel of Ages. Kabbalistically, Arcanum number 10 is called the Kingdom, or Vital Center. It is called the formative root of all the laws of nature and the cosmos. To form means to conceive intellectually, and to later draw or construct. For this reason, the 10 is the formative principle of all things. The circle with a point in the center represents the mysteries of the Lingam Yoni. The circle is the absolute, the eternal feminine principle. It is the yoni from which all universes are born. The point is the lingam, the eternal masculine principle. The circle with a point is the macrocosmos. It is through the mysteries of the lingam yoni that universes can be created. The circle is receptive, the point projective. If the point is elongated, prolonged, it becomes a line, dividing the circle in 2. With the point in movement, we then have the lingam yoni, the 2 sexes, masculine and feminine. Removing the line from within the circle, we then have the number 10 and also the mantra of the Divine Mother. The whole universe is a product of sexual energy. Without the power of creative energy, the universe could not be formed. Without creative sexual energy, there is no universe. For this reason, the 10 is the formative principle of all nature. The circle with the point in the center can also be expressed as follows. The number 10 teaches us many things. Bearing in mind the circle which is the symbol of the Divine Mother, we can also say that the following symbols are in essence the same. It is said that number 10 is the base, the kingdom, and that the person who obeys the mandates of this arcanum sees the return of all things. If the student knows how to obey, he or she will see the return of all things, will be elevated to illumination, and will be able to see the ebb and flow of all things because he or she is an illuminate. The Kabbalah says that we see things in accordance with the extent to which we begin to obey the 10. In this number 10 are the principles: creation, conservation, renewal. Here is the word in its triple aspect. The point within the circle, which in movement becomes a line, can take the following forms. We have already seen that the 10 comes from the above-mentioned symbol, as also the EO, which is the mantra of the Divine Mother, giving rise also to the 10 emanations of Prakriti, or that is, the 10 Sephirot of the Kabbalah. The 10 Sephirot are 1. Ketere, the Father, the Logos. 2nd Hokema, the Son. 3rd Bina, the Triune, the Holy Spirit, the Sephirotic Crown. This is the first triangle. After the Sephirotic Crown comes 4. Chesed, Atman, the Idamus, our divine being. 5th Gebra, the feminine spiritual soul, the Bodhi. This is the superlative consciousness of the being. It is the principle of justice, the law. When conscience is spoken of, it is Bodhi, the Elohim, who says, "Fight for me in the name of Tetragrammaton." 6. Tifereth, Manas, the human soul. This is the second triangle. In the third triangle we have 7. Netzach, the solar mind, the Christ mind, the true solar astral body. The cubical stone, Sex 8, showed the true solar astral body. 9. Yesod, the cubical stone. 10th, Malkut, the physical body. The 10 Sephirot are within us. They underlie all organic and inorganic matter. Every human being has them, however, it is necessary to incarnate them. The Sephirot, once self-realized, shine within Atman like precious gems. The Sephirot form regions where angels, cherubim, powers, etc. live. The Sephirot have their points of relationship with the physical body. Katare, the crown, the upper part of the head. Hokema, the right side of the brain. Be'ena, the left side of the brain. Hesed, the right arm. Gebura, the left arm. Tiperet, within the heart. Netzach, within the right leg. Hod, within the left leg. Yesod, within the sexual organs. Malkut, within the feet. These are the Sephirotic points of contact within the physical body. The Sephirot are atomic. They are not atoms of carbon, oxygen, or nitrogen. They are atoms of a spiritual nature which belong to occult, esoteric, and spiritual chemistry. Sephirot are masculine, and there also exist Sephira, which are feminine. It is also the plural form of the word. Deep space, the magnetic fields, etc. constitute the neutral zone. This one will not find in books. It must be discovered for oneself. I speak to you from the direct mystical point of view. Arcanum number 11. Persuasion. Meanings: willpower, courage, magnanimity, tolerance in the face of tests, responsibility. Reversed meanings: overwhelming challenges, lack of will for self-discipline or perseverance. Attributes: Key 8, color yellow. Hebrew letter Tet. Letter number 9, symbol serpent, element fire, astrological sign Leo. Musical note E natural. Description of the card: in the waters of life, the cubical stone. Within the stone, the wading bird, and upon it, the dove of the Holy Spirit. In the middle section, a woman closes the jaws of a furious lion, indicating that this is superior to violence. Upon her head is the crown, and from her forehead rises the serpent, indicating mastery. The lion is the fire element. It also represents gold. In ancient times, the chariots of the kings were drawn by lions, and in esoteric symbolism, the chariot of war drawn by lions symbolizes the solar bodies. Esoteric meaning of the Arcanum. In the Kabbalah, card number 11 is known as persuasion. The hieroglyph of this Arcanum is a beautiful woman who tranquilly and with Olympian serenity closes the jaws of a furious lion with her very own hands. The thrones of the divine kings were adorned with lions of solid gold. Gold signifies the sacred fire of Kundalini. This reminds us of Horus, or Oruz, the gold. We need to transmute the lead of the personality into the gold of the spirit. This work is only possible in the laboratory of the alchemist. When the fledgling alchemist is crowned, they are transformed into a god of fire. They then open with their own hands the terrible jaws of the furious lion. The potable gold of alchemy is the sacred fire of the Holy Spirit. The fusion of the crossman and the triangle spirit, Arcanum number 12, would be impossible without potable gold. Number 11 breaks down Kabbalistically as follows. 1 + 1 = 2. The 1 is masculine, the 2 is feminine. 1 man + 1 woman equals 2 people united with the fire. The number 11 consists of 2 units, which Henry Kunrath translates in these 2 words. Coagula solve. We need to accumulate sacred fire and then learn to project it. The key is in the connection of the virile member with the genitalia muriales. The quietude of virile member and the genitalia muriales with an occasional gentle movement. To transmute the animal instincts into will, sexual passion into love, lustful thoughts into comprehension, and vocalizing the secret mantra. Man is a unit, woman another. This is the number 11 of the tarot. Only with a woman working in the great work can we incarnate the child of gold, Oruz, the verb, the great word. In this manner, then, the number 11 is the most multiplicable number. Arcanum number 12, the apostolate, the hanged man. Meanings: delays, waiting, illness, transition, sacrifice, divination. Reversed meanings. The reversed meanings of challenging cards tend to be beneficial. In this case, waiting periods are over, transitions are complete, and debts are being repaid. Description of the card. In the waters of life, the Pentacle of Solomon, a variant on the 6-pointed star. The 3 upper points represent the 3 traitors of Hiram Abif, the internal Christ, Judas, Pilate, and Caiaphas, desire, mind, and ill will. In the middle are 2 columns each with 9 rungs. This is the 9th sphere. Sex, we should remember that there are 9 heavens, the white column, and 9 infernal regions, the black column. We have to descend a rung in order to ascend one. Between the 2 columns, there is a man hanging by 1 foot with his hands tied together. With his feet, he forms a cross, and with his arms, the inverted triangle. This figure represents the fact that sex dominates reason. It is necessary to invert the symbol. Esoteric meaning of the Arcanum. Arcanum number 12 represents the 12 signs of the zodiac, the 12 apostles, the 12 tribes of Israel, the 12 hours of cooking of the alchemists, the 12 faculties hydrogen S112. Arcanum number 12 is the apostolate. The figure of a man hanging forms a triangle with the apex facing downwards, and his feet form a cross above the triangle. All of the work has as its objective to acquire the soul. That is, to achieve the ligament of the cross with the triangle. This is the great work. The 12th card of the tarot is sexual alchemy. The cross of man must unite with the triangle of the spirit by means of sexual fire. In the Chinese tradition, 10 trunks, shikan, and 12 branches are spoken of. That is to say, the 10 sephirot and the 12 faculties of the human being. It is necessary to know that the 7 chakras and the 5 senses are the 12 faculties. Unquestionably, the spinal column has 7 magnetic centers. These are the 7 chakras, or the 7 churches of the Apocalypse of St. John. 1. Ephesos, base of the spinal column. 4 petals. 2nd Smyrna, level of the prostate. 6 petals. Tercer Pergamos, nivel del plexo solar. 10 petals. 4 Thyatira, in the heart. 12 petals. 5 Sardis, creative larynx. 16 petals. 6 Philadelphia, between the eyebrows. 2 petals. 7 Laodicea, in the pineal gland. 1,000 petals. These are the 7 chakras, and with these, plus the 5 senses, one becomes an investigator of the superior worlds. These are the 12 faculties of each human creature. The universe came from the Chinese Huoltum, chaos. The 10 trunks and the 12 branches also came from chaos, which in alchemy is the ens seminis, within which is contained the ens virtutis, the materia prima of the great work. This is the entity of being of Paracelsus. This entity becomes the philosophical stone, or lapis philosophorum, so sought after by the medieval alchemists. The whole mysterium magnum is found enclosed in that summa materia. These are the Latin terms for the arcanum AZF. The alchemist must extract from within this menstrum universalis, chaos, all the potable gold or sacred fire, that which must rise through the spinal medulla, opening the 7 churches. Once we have extracted the potable gold, we are able to unite the cross with the triangle. That is to say, the cross man must join with our immortal triad. We must incarnate the spirit. It is only in this way that we become a human being. Before achieving this, we are only intellectual animals. The great work, or magnum opus, is represented by Arcanum number 12 of the tarot. The arms of the figure form the triangle, his feet the cross. His head is the ligament of the triangle with the cross by means of potable gold. According to the Chinese, the god Fuji, the Adam Christ, was born at midnight on day 4 of the 10th moon and at precisely 12 years. The Virgin Hoase, passing along the bank of the river, the seminal fluid, formed the Christ within her womb on placing her foot upon the footprint of the great man. All of these dates are very interesting. Day 4 is the 4 elements. In the 10th is the secret of the Lingam Yoni. It represents the 10 Sephirot and the circle with the line dividing it in half, the mystery of sex. The 12 is the 12 faculties needed to incarnate the Christ in the heart. There is a profound study of Arcanum number 12 in the 12th key of Basil Valentine. Just as the lion transforms the serpent into its own flesh when it devours it, so too the power of Devi Kundalini, the sacred fire transmuted, eliminates its defects, its errors. What is important is the Magna Obra, the key you already know, the Maituna. The alchemists must work for 12 hours to obtain the ferment of the gold. Here is the number 12. Whoever possesses fermented gold can have the joy to really be. The essence, or fraction of incarnated soul, is trapped in the pluralized I, or ego, which is within the animal mental body and the lunar body of desire. It manifests by means of the physical body. We differ from the animals only because of the intellect, because animals also have mind, but not the intellect. The authentic man needs to eliminate the ego and fabricate the solar bodies with the transmutation of HC12, 12 laws. The fabrication of the solar bodies has an intimate relationship with music and its 7 notes. Hydrogen C12 is produced in the human organism, being initiated from the process of digestion. Do, when the food is in the mouth. Re, when it reaches the throat. Mi, when it reaches the level of the lungs. Fo, when it reaches the stomach, spleen, and liver soul. When it reaches the solar plexus. La, when it reaches the colon and pancreas. And C, when hydrogen C12 is produced. After the note Si comes Do again, which corresponds to the next higher octave and another musical scale. C can be elevated to a higher musical octave by restraining the sexual impulse and ejaculation. This is how HC12 passes through to a second octave, giving rise to the solar astral body. Through a third shock, the hydrogen will pass to a third octave, which will give rise to the solar mental body. A fourth octave gives birth to the body of conscious will. All this work is with the Maituna. Once in possession of these 4 vehicles, our divine being will enter through the pineal gland, and we will then attain the second birth and become true men. Whilst we have the lunar animal bodies, we are still mere intellectual animals, only a chrysalis that has the potential to be transformed into a celestial butterfly. This is attained through super efforts. The nutriment of the physical body is in H48, 48 laws. If we conserve this hydrogen, it can be transformed into H24, 24 laws, which serves as nourishment for the solar astral body. This hydrogen, 24, is wasted with excessive work, futile efforts, desires, emotions, rages. H12 is the nourishment of the solar mental body. It is wasted with intellectual efforts. If we save it, H6 will be obtained to nourish the body of conscious will. Whoever has the superior existential bodies of the being has the right to incarnate his divine triad, Atman, Bodhi, Manas. Then it is said, a new son of man has been born, a master, a Mahatma. All of which is written in the apocalypses for the final days. We must inform humanity that the final days have already arrived. The whole of poor humanity is divided into 12 tribes. All of humanity develops and unfolds within the zodiacal matrix. The zodiac is a womb within which humanity is gestated. The 12 tribes can only receive the sign of God on their foreheads by practicing the Arcanum AZF, and I heard the number of them which were sealed, Apocalypse 7.4. And of the tribe of Judah were sealed 12,000, and of the tribe of Reuben were sealed 12,000. Of each one of the 12 zodiacal tribes, there are only 12,000 sealed. We have here Arcanum number 12 of the Tarot. We have here the ligament of the cross with the triangle. We have here sexual magic. We have here the realized work, the living man who touches the earth with no more than his thought. From each of the 12 tribes of Israel, only 12,000 sealed will be saved from the great cataclysm. This quantity is symbolic. Only they who have achieved the ligament of the crossman with the triangle spirit will be saved. We find the following dealing with the New Jerusalem. And it had a great and high wall, and it had 12 gates, the 12 zodiacal doors of the universe and in man. And at the gates 12 angels, zodiacal angels, and names written thereon which are the names of the 12 tribes of the children of Israel, the 12 types of humanity in accordance with the influence of the 12 zodiacal signs, Apocalypse 21st of December. As above, so below. Man has 12 faculties governed by 12 atomic angels. 12 zodiacal signs exist in starry space and in man. It is necessary to transmute the sexual energy and make it pass through the 12 zodiacal doors of the human organism. The prophet continued speaking of the 12 zodiacal doors in this way. On the east 3 gates, on the north 3 gates, on the south 3 gates, and on the west 3 gates. Apocalypse 21.13. And the wall of the city had 12 foundations, and in them the names of the 12 apostles of the Lamb. Apocalypse 21.14. The 12 zodiacal signs and the 12 energetic spheres which mutually penetrate and interpenetrate without confusion. Solar humanity is realized totally within the 12 planes. Arcanum number 12 is the foundation of the celestial Jerusalem. The 12th arcanum is the symbol of sexual alchemy. This is the sacrifice and the realized work. One must work with gold and silver. One must work with the moon and the sun to raise the celestial Jerusalem within each person. The gold and the silver, the sun and the moon, are the sexual forces of man and woman. In Arcanum 12 is enclosed all the science and philosophy of the great work. In the Christonic semen is hidden the living and philosophical secret fire. The mysticism of all the old initiates is that of sexual alchemy. The philosophy of sexual alchemy has its beginning in the school of the Essenes, in the school of Alexandria, in the teachings of Pythagoras, in the mysteries of Egypt, Troy, Rome, Carthage, Eleusis, in the wisdom of the Aztec, the Maya, etc. The science and systems of sexual alchemy must be studied in the books of Paracelsus, Nicholas Flamel, Raymond Lully, and others. We also find the procedures hidden behind the veil of the symbols contained in many of the inscrutable forms of the old hieroglyphs of many ancient temples, in the Greek and Egyptian myths, etc. You who seek initiation, you who read so much, you who live fluttering from school to school, always seeking, always desiring, always yearning, always longing. Tell me sincerely, have you already awakened Kundalini? Have you already opened the 7 churches of your spinal medulla? Have you incarnated the Lamb? Answer me, dear reader. Be sincere with yourself. Place your hand upon your heart and answer me with sincerity. Have you realized yourself? Are you certain that with your theories you will become a god? What have you achieved? What have you attained with all your theories? He who wants to self-realize needs a revolution of consciousness, to die, to be born, and to sacrifice. A revolution of consciousness when we decapitate the I. A revolution of consciousness when we make the solar bodies. A revolution of consciousness when we incarnate the being. Up until then, we do not have real existence. Arcanum number 13. Immortality. Death. Meanings. Death. Endings. The end of a cycle. Separation. Grief. Transition point. Transformation. Reversed meanings. Resistance toward change. Delayed change. Key attributes. Key. 13. Color, blue-green. Hebrew letter. Noon meaning fish. Letter number. 50. Astrological sign, Scorpio. Element, water. Musical note, G natural. Description of the card. In this arcanum, the heads of wheat represent rebirth, as do the flowers. The flowers, the beginning of life. The wheat, the end. A hierarch of the law cuts some sheaves of wheat, which have grain of varying sizes, both large and small. These are known as bobi caldenos, and represent the values, the capital which each human being carries in his or her 3 brains. Intellectual, motor, instinctual, and emotional brain. He who carries small grain lives only a short while, dying within a few days, months, or in the first few years of life. One lives by thirds, and one dies by thirds. She who squanders their intellectual capital descends into madness, schizophrenia, etc. He who abuses his motor or movement center ends up being deformed, etc. She who misuses her emotional center suffers from ailments of the heart. This arcanum represents both the internal and the physical. It is the arcanum of Judas Iscariot, which represents the death of the ego. The scythe is the funeral symbol of the angels of death. Esoteric significance of the arcanum. Death is really the return to the womb. Life and death are 2 phenomena of the same thing, samsara, existence. Death is a subtraction of fractions. When the mathematical calculation ends, all that remains are the values of consciousness. The values of the personality are subtracted. For the personality of the defunct, there is no tomorrow. It has a beginning and an end. Trapped within the ego are the values of the consciousness. These, seen clairvoyantly, resemble a legion of phantoms. This is what continues. The return of the values is a mechanism of nature. The soul really does not return because man has not incarnated his soul. Only the values return. When the hour of death arrives, the angel of death attends the deathbed of the dying one, having the duty to cut the cord of existence. In the precise instant of exhaling the last breath, the angel of death removes the individual from their physical body, and with his scythe, cuts the silver cord. This is a mysterious silvery thread which connects the internal bodies with the physical body. This magnetic cord can extend or reduce to infinity. It is due to this cord that we can reincorporate in the physical body in the moment of awakening after sleep. The dying usually see the angel of death. They, when working, dress in funeral garb and take on a spectral, skeletal appearance, grasping the scythe with which they cut the silver cord. They assume this gloomy appearance only whilst working. Apart from this, they adopt very beautiful forms, at times of children, at times of ladies, or of venerable elders. The angels of death are never evil or perverse. They always work in accordance with the great law. Each one has his hour to be born and his exact moment to die. The angels of death are very wise. They develop and operate under the ray of Saturn. They know not only all that which is related to the commonplace and normal death of the physical body. These ministers of death are as well profoundly wise in all that which is related with the death of the pluralized I. Proserpina, the queen of the infernos, is also Hecate, the blessed goddess Mother Death, under whose direction the angels of death work. Mother Space, transformed into Mother Death, dearly loves her children, and for this reason, she takes them. The blessed goddess Mother Death has the power to punish us when we violate the law and authority to take our life. She is, indubitably, only one magnificent facet of our mystic dyad, a splendid form of our own being. Without her consent, no angel of death would dare to break the thread of life. The silver cord, the Antakarana. 3 human forms go to the grave. A, the physical body. B, the vital body or lingam sarira. And C, the personality. The physical body in a gradual process disintegrates within the grave. The vital body floats before the sepulchre, its phosphorescent specter at times being visible to persons who are very psychic. It disintegrates slowly as the physical body disintegrates. The personality is energetic, is formed during the first 7 years of childhood, and is strengthened with time and experiences. The personality is a child of its time, born in its time. There is no tomorrow for the personality of the defunct. After the death of the physical body, the personality is also within the grave, but it comes out when someone brings flowers, when some mourner visits. It moves about the cemetery and returns to its grave. Within the cemetery, it slowly disintegrates. That which continues, that which does not go to the grave, is the ego, the self, the myself, the I, which is a particular sum of I devils that personify our psychological defects. That which continues after death is not then very beautiful. That which is not destroyed along with the physical body is none other than a multitude of devils, of psychic aggregates, of defects. The only decent thing that exists within all those caverniculous entities that constitute the ego is the essence, the psyche, the buddhata. Normally, these psychic aggregates function within the astral and mental worlds. Rare are those essences who are able to free themselves for a time from these subjective elements in order to enjoy a holiday in the causal world before returning to this vale of tears. This is, however, possible with the dissolution of the ego. The egos normally submerge within the mineral realm in the infernal worlds, or return immediately or shortly thereafter to a new organism. The ego continues in the seed of our descendants. We return incessantly in order to always repeat the same dramas, the same tragedies. I must stress the fact that not all the aggregates achieve a human return. In reality, many I devils are lost because they submerge within the mineral realm, continue reincorporating in animal organisms, or resolutely cling and adhere to determined places. Arcanum number 14. Temperance. Meanings: balance, the end of conflicts, peace of mind, contentment, peaceful home life, proper management of time and money. Reversed meanings: avoiding conflict, enduring poor treatment from others, problems belonging to others becoming one's own. Key attributes: color, blue, Hebrew letter, samak, meaning, property, letter number, 60, astrological sign, Sagittarius, element, fire, musical note, G sharp. Description of the card. In the waters of life we find 3 flowers, and in the central flower, a serpent rising. These 3 flowers represent Sat, the intimus, Atman, Chit, Bodhi, the spiritual soul, and Ananda, Manas, the human soul. The 3 flowers also represent the sacred fire. The materia prima, the mixture. In the middle, an angel shows us by means of his vestments, the triad and the quaternary, the 4 bodies of sin. At his forehead shines a sun with 14 rays, 7 visible and 7 invisible. The visible rays represent the 7 planets, and the invisible, the 7 chakras. The angel has 2 vessels or urns with which he mixes the 2 elixirs. One vessel is of gold and contains the red elixir, the other of silver containing the white elixir. Together they produce the elixir of long life. Many masters have attained immortality: Babaji, Sanat Kumara, Paracelsus, etc. Esoteric significance of the Arcanum. In Arcanum number 14, there is an angel with a sun at his forehead and a vessel in each hand in the act of mixing the red elixir with the white elixir. The elixir of long life results from the mixture of these 2. It is, indubitably, this which the medieval alchemists so yearned for. The white elixir is woman and the red elixir is man, without which it is impossible to produce the elixir of long life. That of the woman emanates from the moon, and that of the man emanates from the sun. This is indicated by the colors. When the septenary man unites sexually with the septenary woman, an addition is made whose result is Arcanum number 14 of the tarot. It is valuable to mention in passing that man has 7 principles, the same as woman. It is the sexual center which is the most important and the fastest in the human being. The process of creating a new being is realized within the law of musical octaves. The 7 notes of the musical scale form the basis of all creation. If we transmute the creative energy, we initiate a new octave in the etheric world. The result of this is a vehicle with which we are able to consciously penetrate all the regions of the kingdom. A 3rd octave permits us to engender the true astral, the Christ astral. Upon reaching these levels, the old astral phantasm is reduced to an empty shell which, little by little, disintegrates. A 4th octave permits us to engender the Christ mind. This vehicle gives us true wisdom and unity of thought. Only he who engenders the Christ mind has the right to say, "I have a mental body." The current mental body is but a ghost of a facade. This becomes really a hollow shell when the true mind is born. It disintegrates and becomes reduced to cosmic dust. The 5th musical octave engenders the true causal body. On attaining these levels, we incarnate the soul. We then have real existence. Before this moment, we do not have real existence. In Chapter 15. Arcanum number 15. Passion. Meanings: bondage, karmic, partner, twin flame, limitation, burden, temptation, ordeal, addiction, manipulation, materialism, emerging shadow or ego gratification, ill will, reversed meanings. Released from bondage and attachments, independence, self-love, reclaimed willpower in the form of conquering addictions, attachments, and limitations. Description of the card. In the waters of life, the representation of Gebura, the law, the Typhon Baphomet, appears in the middle, holding the staff of command in his left hand and a rising serpent in his right. The right hand is masculine and the left is feminine. The breasts indicate that the figure is androgynous. Wisdom is covered by the apron, and from this same apron appears the tail. The face is deformed as a result of error and sin. The Baphomet has been represented as being of brass, which humanity has blackened because of degeneration. We must whiten the brass, the devil, who is the psychological trainer and guardian of the doors of the sanctuary. This is so that only the chosen may enter, they who have been able to overcome all of the tests set by the devil. Esoteric significance of the Arcanum. Arcanum number 15 of the tarot represents the male goat of Mendez, Lucifer, Typhoon Baphomet, the devil. The alchemist must steal the fire from the devil. When we work with Arcanum AZF, we steal the fire from the devil. In this way, we become gods. In this way, the 5-pointed star shines. The horns end in 6 points. Arcanum number 6 is sex, indicating that in sex is the liberation by means of chastity, or the enslavement of man by passion. There is a difference from Arcanum number 1. The right hand is elevated, and the left points towards the earth. The mystery of the Baphomet is sexual alchemy based on comprehension and transmutation of the creative energies. The Baphomet of the Templars must be read in reverse. Temo Hapab, being an anagram of the Latin words Templi Omun Hominun Pacis Abbas. With this is intended, the Father of the Temple, universal peace to men. Arcanum number 15 comes after Arcanum 13, which is the death of the eye, and after Arcanum number 14, which is temperance or moderation, the chastity, which is a result of the death of the ego. Arcanum number 15 is then the divine androgen who becomes resplendent, whitened brass. We know that the inner divine logoi is beyond the body, the emotions, and the mind. This, unquestionably, is that which is ineffable, is real. He projects his reflection, his particular shadow within us, here and now. Obviously, this shadow, this logoic reflection, is the psychological trainer, Lucifer the Tempter. Each of us has our own particular Lucifer. In the Egypt of the pharaohs, the midday sun, the sacred absolute sun, was always symbolized by Osiris, whilst his shadow, his reflection, his Lucifer, was allegorized by Typhoon. In the sacred temples of the old Egypt of the pharaohs, when the neophyte was at the point of being subjected to the tests of initiation, a master drew near to him and quietly murmured in his ear this mysterious phrase, "Remember that Osiris is a black god." This is clearly the specific color of darkness and of the Cumaean shadows of the devil, who was always offered black roses. It is also the color of primitive. Chapter 15. Arcanum number 15. Passion. Meanings: bondage, karmic, partner, twin flame, limitation, burden, temptation, ordeal, addiction, manipulation, materialism, emerging shadow or ego gratification, ill will. Reversed meanings: released from bondage and attachments, independence, self-love, reclaimed willpower in the form of conquering addictions, attachments, and limitations. Description of the card. In the waters of life, the representation of Gebura, the law, the Typhon Baphomet, appears in the middle, holding the staff of command in his left hand and a rising serpent in his right. The right hand is masculine and the left is feminine. The breasts indicate that the figure is androgynous. Wisdom is covered by the apron, and from this same apron appears the tail. The face is deformed as a result of error and sin. The Baphomet has been represented as being of brass, which humanity has blackened because of degeneration. We must whiten the brass, the devil, who is the psychological trainer and guardian of the doors of the sanctuary. This is so that only the chosen may enter, they who have been able to overcome all of the tests set by the devil. Esoteric significance of the Arcanum. Arcanum number 15 of the tarot represents the male goat of Mendez, Lucifer, Typhoon Baphomet, the devil. The alchemist must steal the fire from the devil. When we work with Arcanum AZF, we steal the fire from the devil. In this way, we become gods. In this way, the 5-pointed star shines. The horns end in 6 points. Arcanum number 6 is sex, indicating that in sex is the liberation by means of chastity, or the enslavement of man by passion. There is a difference from Arcanum number 1. The right hand is elevated, and the left points towards the earth. The mystery of the Baphomet is sexual alchemy based on comprehension and transmutation of the creative energies. The Baphomet of the Templars must be read in reverse. Temo Hapab, being an anagram of the Latin words Templi Omun Hominun Pacis Abbas. With this is intended, the Father of the Temple, universal peace to men. Arcanum number 15 comes after Arcanum 13, which is the death of the eye, and after Arcanum number 14, which is temperance or moderation, the chastity, which is a result of the death of the ego. Arcanum number 15 is then the divine androgen who becomes resplendent, whitened brass. We know that the inner divine logoi is beyond the body, the emotions, and the mind. This, unquestionably, is that which is ineffable, is real. He projects his reflection, his particular shadow within us, here and now. Obviously, this shadow, this logoic reflection, is the psychological trainer, Lucifer the tempter. Each of us has our own particular Lucifer. In the Egypt of the pharaohs, the midday sun, the sacred absolute sun, was always symbolized by Osiris, whilst his shadow, his reflection, his Lucifer, was allegorized by Typhoon. In the sacred temples of the old Egypt of the pharaohs, when the neophyte was at the point of being subjected to the tests of initiation, a master drew near to him and quietly murmured in his ear this mysterious phrase, "Remember that Osiris is a black god." This is clearly the specific color of darkness and of the Cumaean shadows of the devil, who was always offered black roses. It is also the color of primitive chaos, where all the elements and seeds of life are totally mixed and muddled. The symbol of the earth element and of night, of the total death of all psychological elements, which in their conjunct constitute the myself. We need, with the utmost and unpostponable urgency, to whiten the devil, and this is only possible by fighting against ourselves, by dissolving that whole complex of psychic aggregates which form the I, the myself, the self. Only by dying within ourselves can we whiten the brass and contemplate the midnight sun, the Father. This means to overcome temptations and to eliminate each and every one of the inhuman elements that we carry within. Anger, avarice, lust, envy, pride, laziness, gluttony, etc., etc., etc. In the psychological gymnasium of human existence, a trainer is always needed. The divine demon mentioned so many times by Socrates, the very shadow of our individual spirit, is the most extraordinary psychological trainer who each one of us carries within. He places temptation in our path with the purpose of training us, educating us. Only in this way is it possible for the precious gems of virtue to appear within our psyche. I now ask myself, and I ask you, where is the evil of Lucifer? It is the results which speak. If there is no temptation, there is no virtue. The stronger the temptations, the greater the virtues. The important thing is not to fall into temptation, and for this reason we must pray to the Father, saying, "Lead us not into temptation." Only through struggle, contrast, temptation, and rigorous esoteric discipline can the flowers of virtue form in us. Lucifer as Ao, educator, mentor, is certainly something rare, unusual, extraordinary. There exists in the Luciferic temptation an inimitable didactic, a portentous teaching, an attraction which is amazing, an unmistakable incentive, a hidden instigation with secret divine purpose, seduction, fascination. Lucifer Prometheus is one with the Platonic Logos, the minister of the demiurge creator and resplendent lord of the 7 mansions of Hades, the Inferno, Sabbat, and the manifest world. To him is entrusted the sword and the scale of cosmic justice. He is then, indubitably, the rule of weight, measure, and number. Orus, Brahma, Ahura Mazda, etc., always ineffable. Lucifer, Lucy, meaning light, and Fear, meaning fire, is the guardian of the door and has the keys of the Lumizial so that none other than the anointed may enter. They who possess the secret of Hermes. They who rashly curse Lucifer, speak ill of the cosmic reflection of the Logos, anathematize the living God manifested in matter, and renounce the always incomprehensible wisdom revealed in the opposites of light and darkness, semblance, similarity, sun and shadow, day and night. The law of opposites. The devil, the reflection of our inner logoi, was the most exalted being before we descended into animal generation. Whiten the brass and burn your books, the masters of Hermetic art tell us time and again. Whoever whitens the devil, returning him to his resplendent and primordial state, whoever dies in himself here and now, liberates the enchained Prometheus, and he rewards most highly, because he is a colossus with power over the heavens, over the earth, and over the infernos. Lucifer, Prometheus, totally integrated with all the parts of our being, makes us something different, distinct, an exotic creature, an archangel, a terribly divine power. Arcanum number 17. HOPE, the star. Meanings. Wish fulfillment, good or fortune, or health rejuvenation. Hope, overcoming obstacles, or inspiration, renewal. Reversed meanings. Unfulfilled wishes, lack of faith, despair, lack of inspiration, motivation, or purpose, pessimism, low chance of success. Description of the card. In the waters of life are two triangles, the positive and the negative. In the middle section is a woman who is watering the earth with the two elixirs representing masculine and feminine. Upon her head is a lotus flower indicating her developed chakras. In the upper part shines the 8-rayed star of Venus, indicating that after the initiations of fire come those of light. Esoteric significance of the Arcanum. The hieroglyph of Arcanum number 17 is the radiant star and eternal youth. In this Arcanum, a naked woman appears who sprinkles the vital fluid of universal life which comes from two vessels, one of gold and one of silver. If we carefully study the esoteric content of this Arcanum, we discover perfect alchemy. We need to work with the gold and the silver, with the sun and the moon, in order to incarnate the 8-pointed star, the morning star. Really, the 8-pointed star is Venus. Whoever obtains the Venustic initiation has the joy of incarnating the dragon of wisdom. The internal Christ. One must work with fire and water to receive the Venustic initiation. The star crucified upon the cross is the Christ of the Abraxas, the Son of Man, the Verb incarnated. There is documentation about Venus, the morning star, in the Apocalypse of St. John, and he that overcometh. I will give him the morning star. Apocalypse 2.26-28. I, Jesus, have sent mine angel to testify unto you these things in the churches. I am the root and the offspring of David and the bright and morning star. Apocalypse 22.16. Christ is the dawn star. When one receives the Venustic initiation, Christ enters the soul. When we decapitate and dissolve the I, the myself, we then receive the Venustic initiation. He who receives this incarnates his star. The star is the Son of Man. The truth. No one can seek the truth. The truth cannot be known by the eye. No one can search for that which they do not know. Satan, the I, the ego which we carry within, is unable to know the truth. The truth cannot be studied, read, or recognized by the mind. The truth is absolutely different from all that can be read, studied, or recognized by the mind. The truth advenes when we have decapitated and dissolved the I. The various truths of people are none other than projections of the mind. Decapitate your own I, dissolve it with rigorous purifications. In this manner, you achieve the Venustic initiation. Then you will incarnate the truth. The Verb will be made flesh in you. You will incarnate the Son of Man and receive the morning star. Everyone who wants to incarnate the star must work with the essence of life contained in the two sacred vessels which the naked woman of Arcanum 17 has in her hands. The star which guides us internally is the Father star. The important thing for us is to incarnate that Father star. Here we have the mystery of Arcanum 17. The essence contained in the vessels of gold and silver, when wisely combined and transmuted, enables us to achieve the incarnation of the star. The star crucified upon the cross is the Christ. Arcanum number 18, Twilight, the moon. Meanings: subconsciousness, false and illusory concepts, desire and fear, deception, feminine energy, intuition. Reversed meanings: regained clarity and certainty, sharp intuition. Description of the card: in the waters of life, a scorpion within an inverted triangle, signifying that with the spilling of the vessel of Hermes, we, like a scorpion, kill the Divine Mother. In the middle section are two pyramids, one black and one white, symbolizing the positive and the negative polarities. Two dogs or wolves, one black and the other white, howl at the moon. The white, symbolizing friendship, is positive, whilst the black is negative and symbolizes the psychological eye. They represent the terrible struggle between the tenebrous forces. The moon, in essence, represents sex. We have to work with the moon in order to convert it into the sun. The dog also represents the sexual instinct, and it is due to this that the dog takes us to the very doors of the Absolute. Esoteric significance of the Arcanum. It is necessary to study, analyze, and reflect profoundly on the esoteric content of this Arcanum. Arcanum number 18 is light and shadow, white magic and black magic. This is represented by the black dog and the white dog, the black pyramid and the white. By adding Kabbalistically the numbers of Arcanum 18, we find that 1 plus 8 equals 9, the ninth sphere. Sex. We have already said that within our planetary organism there are 9 interior strata. These are the 9 vaults of occult masonry. The 9th corresponds to the nucleus of the planetary organism, and then there is the sepulchre of Hiram Abiff, or Curum Osiris, who is the intimate Christ of each person who comes into this world. It is erroneous to consider or believe that the Christ is only Jeshua ben Pandira, which is the name of Jesus, the Christ who is undeniably the living incarnation of the Word, the Logos. All of us need to resuscitate that intimate Christ, and to achieve this, it is obvious that we must descend to the 9th sphere. Sex. Due to this, it is said that Hiram Abiff is in the 9th circle, in the 9th vault. We are all children of sex, and for this reason, in the Divine Comedy, we see the condemned with water up to their generative organs and weeping with tears which congeal in their eyes. This is because it is a veil of tears and afflictions. That the waters reach their generative organs is due to the fact that they are spermatic waters. We are all born and die weeping. If we add 9 plus 9, it equals 18. The 9 is contained twice in Arcanum 18. Between the two 9s there is a balance. One 9 is the positive aspect, and the other 9 is the negative aspect. The 18 is, however, essentially negative. Disastrous. Is the secret enemies of the Arcanum of Twilight. In the work in the 9th sphere, one has to struggle a lot because one has to learn to sublimate the sexual energy. This is the key or solution to all empires. In Arcanum 18, the 9th sphere is repeated twice. We already know that the number 1 is positive, and that the number 2 is negative. In the same manner, if we repeat the 9th sphere once and once again, we will have the 2 aspects of sex, positive and negative. Now you will understand why Arcanum 18 is light and darkness, white magic and black magic. In Arcanum 18, we find the secret enemies of initiation. Now we are going to study the symbolism of the dog. The dog participates in magic. It is a generous animal, which in ancient times was always consecrated to the god Mercury. The mercurial dog is strictly symbolic as it clearly allegorizes the sexual power. The high honor which the old hierophants of ancient Egypt awarded to the dog is quite clear. The sexual fire, the dog, the erotic instinct, is that extraordinary and marvelous agent which can transform us radically. The dog Cerberus is in the infernal worlds, and we must extricate him, steal him from the infernos. This means to liberate the sexual force. To take Cerberus from the dwelling of Pluto is urgent. Cerberus, prodigy of terror, with his barking, his 3 enormous blunt heads and collar entwined with serpents. He lives happily there, barking at the dead and filling them with terror. The dog, and the swan who flies above the waters of life signify the same as the dove, which is the same as the Egyptian ibis, the force of the Holy Spirit, the sexual force. In all, it is the vessel of Hermes which must be raised well and high. In the archaic doctrine, in occult wisdom, the guiding dog who leads the knight to the sanctum regnum is spoken of. There are times when the knight forgets the dog and believes that he can continue on the path without him. And it is not so. Sooner or later, when he feels stagnant, there remains no other remedy but to take hold of the dog. When we are at a standstill, it is he who shows us the path. We must take him from the abyss. One must not forget that 3-headed Cerberus pulls at the lead of his master, taking him securely by the path of escape, which leads to final liberation. Hercules took him from the abyss to serve as his guide, and we do the same when we attain chastity. Then, working in the forge of Cyclops, practicing sexual magic, transmuting our creative energies, we advance upon the path of the razor's edge to liberation. Woe to the knight who abandons his dog. He will lose his way and fall into the abyss of perdition. Unfortunately, the intellectual animal mistakenly called man hasn't attained chastity. That is to say, he has not taken Cerberus from the dominion of the infernos. This will now explain to you the reason why the defunct suffer in the Plutonian abysses when they hear Cerberus barking, the hound with 3 hungry jaws. We must never forget that Cerberus, the guard dog of the infernos, was affectionate to those who entered and mercilessly devoured those who tried to leave. The lost obviously suffer the insatiable thirst of lust in terrifying Tartarus. In Arcanum 18, we have to unleash bloody battles against the Tenebrous. Heaven is taken by storm. The valiant have taken it. In the internal worlds, the Tenebrous of Arcanum 18 violently attack the student. This path is filled with dangers both within and without. Many are they who begin, few are they who arrive. The majority stray onto the black path. In Arcanum 18, there are very subtle dangers which the student ignores. Number 9 is positive and negative at the same time. This is the mystery of Arcanum 18. In this terrible arcanum we find all the potions and witchcraft of Thessaly. The grimoires are full of tenebrous formulae very fitting to Arcanum 18. We must warn students that the most dangerous potion which the tenebrous use to take the student from the path of the razor's edge is that of the intellect. To invite us to ejaculate the seminal fluid, or to lead us astray by making us consider schools, theories, sects, etc., etc. We must not forget that they who are misled adore the great beast and say, "There is nothing greater than the beast. Who could be superior to the beast?" Apocalypse 13:1-17. Here is wisdom. Let him that hath understanding count the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. Apocalypse 13:18. The mark of the beast are the 2 horns on the forehead. Millions and millions of human beings already have the mark of the beast upon their brow and on their hands. Almost all of the human population of this vale of tears already have the mark of the beast upon their forehead and upon their hands. All these souls will be lost if they do not complete the great work. From 1950, they have been entering the abyss. Human evolution has failed completely. The number of the great beast is 666. This is the number of man because that number reduces Kabbalistically thus: 6 plus 6 plus 6 equals 18. Adding the total together, we have the following: 1 plus 8 equals 9. That is sex. 9 is man because man is the offspring of sex. In total, contained within 666 are the Arcana 18 and 9. Arcanum 18 is the abyss, darkness, sexual temptations, against which the initiate must fight. Arcanum 9 is the ninth sphere, initiation. The gods judged the great whore, whose number is 666. The sentence of the gods was, "To the abyss! To the abyss! To the abyss!" Arcanum number 19. Inspiration. The sun. Meanings. Joy and happiness. Success. Self-love and self-confidence. Abundance or fertility. Marriage. Soulmates. Holidays. Reversed meanings. Delusion due to naivety and fanaticism. Undesirable outcome. Sadness. Excessive pride. Attributes. Key 19th color. Orange. Hebrew letter. Laresh. Meaning. Head or face. Letter number. Astrological planet. Sun. Element. Gold. Musical note. D natural. Description of the card. In the waters of life are three flowers, which represent the three primary forces. In the middle is a couple holding hands, thus forming the Tao key. In the upper part above their heads is a radiant sun with 7 rays, which reminds us of the 7 grades of power of fire. This arcanum teaches us that through transmutation, we attain final liberation. Esoteric significance of the arcanum. This arcanum number 19 is the arcanum of the alliance. It represents the creator fire, the philosophical stone. In order to realize the work which is the great work, we have to work with the philosophical stone. The ancients worshipped the sun in the symbolic form of a black stone. That is the Heliogabalus stone. That is the stone which we must make the foundation of the temple. That stone is sex, represented by the philosophical stone. The Heliogabalus stone. Without that stone we cannot attain the elixir of long life. The 2 columns of the temple, Jachin and Boaz, are the man and the woman united in order to work with the philosophical stone. He who finds the philosophical stone becomes a god. They who build upon the living stone will incarnate the verb. They who build upon the sands will fail, and their structures will tumble into the abyss. Those sands are theories, dead religions, etc., etc. Arcanum number 19 is the arcanum of the work of the sun. The man and the woman holding hands and the sun shining upon them indicates to us that this arcanum is related with the mystery of fire. The sexual aspect of this arcanum we find in the Kabbalistic edition, 1 + 9 = 10. This is a number which is profoundly sexual. We have here the circle and the line, the mysteries of the lingam yoni. It is only possible to attain self-realization by means of sexual transmutation. This is the sacred alliance between man and woman for the magnum opus. In meditating upon saints of medieval times, I was able to discover that although these saints were celibate, they had in other lives worked in the 9th sphere, having developed the sacred fire with the Sahaja Maithuna. If we analyze the life of Saint Philip, we find that feeling love for the divine, he fell to the ground and upon raising himself, felt, with his hand, a protrusion in the thoracic region. He examined it and discovered that he had formed a protrusion upon the heart, and felt that the sacred fire of the Holy Spirit consumed him. After his death, it was discovered that the artery between the heart and lungs was very thickened. He had, however, lived to old age and had been able to say at which hour he was going to disincarnate. There is no doubt that he had the sacred fire due to the practice of the Maituna in previous lives. Catherine de Bourbon was an extraordinary mystic, as was demonstrated in her life. When she died, she was buried without a coffin, but on passing her tomb, many persons noticed that a strong fragrance was emitted and many sick persons were cured. After several months, the priests removed her body in order to give her a good burial. It was undecayed and gave off a fragrance. It was placed on exhibition. The cadaver had a nasal hemorrhage, perspired, and emitted perfume. It was seated in a chair in a chapel in Italy. The eyes opened, and it remained undecayed. The Tao says that one of the signs that someone has attained the intimate self-realization of the being is that of the body being conserved without decay and emitting perfume. When the Akash, the causa causorum of ether, and the basic principle of the tattvas is concentrated in the sexual organs, it is then the psychic basis of the blood, and pure Akash becomes the nutriment of these mystics. They carry this substance to the blood and can live without eating. There are initiates who can live without clothes in the snow without eating. To attain this, extraordinary concentration is needed. Catherine of Siena said that she felt in Christ being nourished by his blood. The relationship of the Akash with the blood and of the blood with the Akash is tremendous. The mystics concentrated in the blood of Christ and attracted only pure Akash. For this, tremendous concentration is needed, and the energies have to be transformed. In the age of gallantry, in the Renaissance, in those times of wigs, crinolines, purple cassocks, beautiful dances, fine carriages, man knew how to appreciate woman and made sacrifices for her. Man was capable of making any sacrifice for a lady. He knew how to appreciate her, and did not shirk even at giving his own life. There were undoubtedly abuses of this, but man in this period knew how to see in woman all his ideals. In this 20th century, man has forgotten the sexual mysteries. The male has lost the sense of moral valor. Humanity is in decadence. The anemic essence is separated by all the entities of the ego. When, however, one is dissolving it, one is forming the seminal pearl. When the ego is destroyed, the golden embryo is formed, and the immortal principles then enter the man. But this is a sexual question. In other times, much was intuitively understood about that which is the creative energy. The human being today is nothing more than a legion of devils, filled with intimate contradictions. The only value we have is the essence, which is broken up amongst the I. Arcanum number 20. Resurrection, Judgment. Meanings: divine intervention, destiny calling, divine evaluation, awakening, transformation, renewal, legal settlement. Reversed meanings: self-doubt, destiny declined, condemnation, false accusations and convictions. Description of the card. In the waters of life is a column, a symbol of construction. The base of the column is the cubical stone. Of the two columns, the white and the black, only the white has remained, being a symbol of purification. In the middle section is a mummy from which escapes a sparrowhawk with a human head. It flies toward the worlds of the spirit and represents the soul. It is indubitable that upon awakening consciousness, we become sparrowhawks with human heads, able to fly freely through star-filled space. On the head of the sparrowhawk and the mummy is a symbol that is representative of the pineal gland, a sign of illumination. The soul of any Egyptian hierophant has 4 bodies: 1 the mummy, 2 the Ka or astral body, 3 the Ba the mental body, and 4 the Ku, causal body. Woe to those who continue living after attaining the second birth. They become, in fact, Hasnamusin, miscarriages of the Divine Mother Kundalini, with a double center of gravity. Esoteric significance of the Arcanum. Arcanum number 20 is the resurrection. For there to be resurrection, there needs to have previously been death. Without it, there is no resurrection. How beautiful it is to die from instant to instant. It is only with death that the new comes. We need to die from moment to moment if we truly want to individualize ourselves. The pluralized I excludes all individuality. In no way is it possible to have individuality where multiple entities, I's, exist, which argue amongst themselves and give rise to various contradictory psychological commitments within us. When set, the ego dies totally, only the being remains in us, that which gives us authentic individuality. When Set is disintegrated totally, then the consciousness, the soul, is freed and awakens completely. Then there is interior illumination. Truly, the resurrection of the soul is only possible through cosmic initiation. Human beings are dead and are only able to revive by means of initiation. Let us remember the words of Jesus, the great Kabir, and let the dead bury their dead. Matthew 8.22. God is not the God of the dead, but of the living. Matthew 22:23-32. Just as there exist three basic types of energy, masculine, feminine, and neutral, so too does there exist three types of resurrection. First, spiritual resurrection. Second, resurrection with the body of liberation. And third, resurrection with the physical body. No one may pass through the second and third types of resurrection without having passed through spiritual resurrection. First, spiritual resurrection is achieved with initiation. We must resuscitate spiritually. First in the fire and then with the light. That is to say, first we raise the 7 serpents of fire and then the 7 serpents of light, attaining the Gnostic initiation and spiritual resurrection. Second, resurrection with the body of liberation. This is realized in the superior worlds. This body is formed with the best atoms of the physical body. It is a body of flesh, which does not come from Adam, a body of indescribable beauty. With this body of paradise, adepts may enter the physical world and work in it, making themselves visible and tangible at will. Third, resurrection of the physical body. On the third day, the initiate in astral body comes before his holy sepulchre, accompanied by the divine hierarchies. The initiate invokes his body, and with the assistance of the divine hierarchies, it rises, entering hyperspace. This is how the escape from the tomb is achieved. In the suprasensible worlds of hyperspace, the holy women treat the body of the initiate with medicaments and aromatic unguents. Obeying supreme orders, the physical body then enters the astral body through the top of the head. This is how a master comes to retain possession of his physical body. This is the gift of Cupid. After the resurrection, the master is eternal. They will not die. With this immortal body, they can appear and disappear instantaneously, making themselves visible in the physical world at will. Jesus the Christ is a resurrected master whose physical body was in the Holy Sepulchre for 3 days. After the resurrection, Jesus appeared in the path of the disciples of Ennemus and dined with them. He also appeared before doubting Thomas, who only believed when he placed his finger in the wounds of the holy body of the great master. Hermes, Cagliostro, Paracelsus, Nicholas Flamel, Quetzalcoatl, Saint-Germain, Babaji, etc., conserved their physical bodies from thousands or millions of years ago without death being able to affect them. They are resurrected masters. Only with the Arcanum AZF is it possible to create the elixir of long life. The resurrection is impossible without the elixir of long life. Arcanum number 21, Transmutation. The world. Meanings. Desirable outcome, wonderful changes being the end of a cycle. Foreign person, place, or thing. Travel opportunities. Reversed meanings. Lack of success or progress. Stagnation. Lack of completion. Burden. Attributes. Key. 21. Color blue, violet, or indigo. Hebrew letter. Tav. Astrological planet Saturn. Element lead. Musical note. A natural. Description of the card. In the upper part, we find the black moon and the white moon, the antitheses. In the middle section, a magician with the staff of the patriarchs in one hand and the ansate, or Tao cross, in the other hand. He is found standing upon a crocodile which waits with open jaws to devour him. The crocodile is Set, Satan, the psychological I, the myself, always lying in wait to devour the one who allows themselves to fall. The magician valiantly grasps the Tao cross, the Arcanum AZF, to defend himself. The magician is covered with a tiger skin. Indubitably, the dog and the tiger have an esoteric association in the same work of the mystic death. The dog is the sexual fire, the erotic instinct which is found at the very root of our seminal system. The tiger is different. This is known by the tiger knights, those jaguars who fight against the ego. Those true felines of revolutionary psychology who have pitted themselves, against their own psychological defects. Really, the sagacity and ferocity of the tiger are necessary in order to kill the human personality and make the dragon of wisdom of 7 serpents, symbols of the decapitated, shine in man, esoteric significance of the Arcanum. Arcanum number 21 has been confused with Arcanum number 22, which is the crown of life. Arcanum number 21 is the madman of the tarot, or the transmutation. The Kabbalistic edition gives us 3. 2 + 1 = 3. In this Arcanum 21, the initiate has to fight against the 3 traitors of Hiram Abiff, the demon of desire, the demon of the mind, and the demon of ill will. One is never in more danger of being a demon than when one is closest to being an angel. Every initiate who allows himself to fall is really the madman of the tarot. When the alchemist spills the vessel of Hermes, they in fact become the madman of the tarot, the fool. It is necessary to eliminate desire if we want to avoid the danger of falling. He who wants to annihilate desire must discover its causes. The causes of desire are to be found in the sensations. We live in a world of sensations and we need to understand them. There are 5 types. 1. Visual sensations. 2. Auditory sensations. 3. Olfactory or smell sensations. 4. Taste sensations. And 5. Tactile sensations. The 5 special types of sensations are transformed into desire. We must not condemn the sensations. We must not justify them. We must understand them profoundly. Only in understanding the sensations do we kill desire. Only by annihilating desire can the mind be liberated, the mind which is normally found trapped within the confines of desire. Liberating the mind produces the awakening of consciousness. If we want to put an end to the causes of desire, we need to live in a state of constant vigilance. It is urgent to live in a state of alert perception. Alert newness. The Eye is a great book, a book of many volumes. Only by means of the technique of internal meditation,